Hello, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much, all the Jedi, the Sith, the Rebels, the Imperials, the Mandos, the smugglers in the galaxy out there, and otherwise kind citizens of the Republic. Welcome to the Unifying Force 100th episode anniversary special. Here we are, live and alive at 4 p.m. UTC, 11 Eastern, and 8 Pacific. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're going to have some fun today, reflecting on 99 previous episodes and looking ahead to the future and doing a few of our little big topics and little discussions. So how's everybody doing? Kat, David?
I am well this morning.
Yeah, pretty good.
Great, good to hear. So let's get the ball rolling in talking about how this little Unifying Force project got started.
I'm really interested to know that because, like, what was the initial impetus? Who came? Because I wasn't here from the beginning. I don't know if everybody knows.
It was Frank, because Gio and I would be on. We wouldn't be guests on the Thursday night watch-alongs, but we'd be watching them, and we'd be commenting a lot and having our own conversation amongst all the comments that fly through there. And we'd be doing that like every Thursday, very consistently. And Frank was reading those and picked up on it and thought that because we were having deeper philosophical conversations in the chat, that would make for a good show. So he talked to Spencer about it. And then Spencer came to me and says, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a show with Gio?" And I said, "Sure. Is Gio on board?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, he'll totally be on board." We're like, "Okay." And then we just, within like a week after that, because Gio and I had been doing that for like a month or whatever on the watch-alongs, maybe 2 months. And so our first episode was in May of 2021, and we were off to the races. As you observed, the early episodes were also defined by technical difficulty.
A few little lo-fi tech moments.
Well, it was a thing, and it's like I think we were looking at, and we're going to take a look at some of our early episodes. As we're going to switch over to some slides right now, and let's see how that goes. There we go. And across this old slideshow, and this was like this graphic has been with us since the beginning. Like, I think I had gotten the call to make some graphics for the show before I was a part of the show, because Spencer started out as your producer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. We had a little group chat with him just to talk shop about it.
Yeah. And then so we've had this graphic, but then here was like episode 1, and like we're doing it on Zoom, or you were doing it on Zoom.
I look stoned in that picture.
And I look very melodramatic.
Well, I mean, this was a number of years ago now,
That's back when I used to be able to stream on my desktop, which I can't do anymore because it's so old that it can't handle the new updates.
Oh, yeah. On the iMac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least I had a Death Star in my background there, lurking over my head.
Well, that was you've got that. And then we'll see some stuff later. Is we started out this way, and the origins of the Force. So take me through a little bit of like the first episode, if you remember.
I believe we were talking a lot about how George based the Force a lot on Buddhism and Taoism, and we had a deep conversation about that and related lines from the original script and script notes for Empire, that some of which didn't even make it into the movie, because obviously he did a deeper dive on the Force in Empire Strikes Back than he did in Star Wars. Because in Star Wars it was kind of treated as like basic simple fantasy type thing, kind of classic archetype where the hero is going to get the mystical ability to help save the princess type thing, whereas in the second one is where they did a more proper deep dive on the whole philosophical nature of what the Force is. And so we had a really great conversation about that.
Yeah, it was like I like to think of it as George Lucas was kind of introducing it, to use like modern terms, the magic system, the kind of, as you say, the mystical lore of this wider story. And obviously he'd planned a lot to tell further stories ahead of time, but managed to get into making in the late 70s Star Wars eventually, despite all the trouble behind the scenes, the issues with 20th Century Fox. And I think it was great how he did manage to just sprinkle in the mysticism and Alec Guinness's performance really sold that. And I think that the dialogue was just neat and tidy with the moment with Luke and Obi-Wan, in his home while he recalls times before the Dark Times, before the Empire. And I don't know if you might have seen these, and I'm sure viewers have seen these as well. In the last sort of 6 months, I've seen quite a few little like fan edits and clips on Instagram and like YouTube Shorts where I think I remember one just entitled Obi-Wan Remembers the Dark Times, and it's that scene with that dialogue that Obi-Wan mentions Luke's father, and mentions Darth Vader, and then it flashes back to sort of teaser imagery from the original trailer of Revenge of the Sith, and it just works amazingly. But one thing that was very prevalent as a feeling in the comments was that Alec Guinness's performance sold that so well because it's almost as if he was seeing these things in his mind as he was acting out those lines. And I just think A New Hope is such a well edited and tight film. And to kick off a gigantic, eternal blockbuster.
Yeah.
So many it was lightning in a bottle, so many things worked well, but I think the origins of the Force were set out in very brief, concise terms in A New Hope. And then it was in Empire where, with the introduction of Yoda and the return of Obi-Wan as a Force ghost, we really had a deeper dive into it, which I think is.
So I've been a listener before I was producing and before I was a host on this show. And I love finding out the things that you guys know that I do not, about how much more of the mysticism there was before that. This was, of course, like the Adventures of Luke Star Killer Episode 1, the journey, as told from the Journal of the Wills, and all of that stuff down there. Like, there was so much more mysticism, and George had thought out the entirety of this kind of religion and this beliefs and all of these factions that didn't make it onto the screen, that the casual viewer just didn't know, that's always been there behind everything. We found out a lot more since then, and we'll see that in some of the other episodes that we're going to look at. But I love doing that.
Yeah, it was a really fun place to start from. It's almost like we also kind of talked chronologically a little bit about it, even though much of the prehistory and the lore there is like the origins of the Jedi and various different Force groups before even the Sith and came to be officially. The Jedi Order was very obviously warrior-based and samurai Eastern influences coming through very strongly there. So we talked a little bit about that in the terms of the cultural impact of more global belief systems and philosophies on George Lucas. We touched on, I don't know if this will show up in the camera, but Joseph Campbell, I've got the blurry.
Oh yeah, that
background.
shows up a lot more in later episodes. So let's.
I got that one too.
Yeah,
looking down the rabbit hole, and with like episode 2, this was my first guest hosting.
Yeah, you're really great at grabbing these screen grabs of me, Dave.
I'm sorry. This
is less stoned, more
whirlwind of this. But I thought,
is that a bunch of nooses hanging from that tree?
What's that?
Is that a bunch of nooses hanging from that tree?
No, it is not a bunch of nooses hanging from that tree.
What is your background?
This was again some of the technology things. Those are crystals. This is the main tree on Kashyyyk. We were experimenting at that time of the virtual backgrounds. And for whatever reason, Kat could never do it. We had some weirdnesses with that. So Kat's vertical on this. I've got horizontal. I had tried the virtual background in Zoom. So we were talking about cults in Star Wars, and I don't know why I was using the Wookiee life tree or whatever. But
I wasn't familiar with the Wookiee life tree.
Yeah, there's like the main biggest tree on Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
Where it is, and that might have been why I was doing it. Is it was part of their religion, if it was not a cult, is to all like Wookiee younglings as they become, or have to go and climb the tree, because Wookiees and I don't know if a lot of people know this, is you deep dive on Wookiees. Wookiees have claws, okay, like
Yeah.
big ginormous claws, but they're like cat claws. They're retractable.
Yeah.
And it is completely and totally forbidden for a Wookiee to use those for anything other than climbing. If a Wookiee, if they were to use that in battle, would be completely shunned and like kicked out of Wookiee society.
Oh, come on. That's they're made for that when you're in a fight.
No,
they can knock down a battle droid like it's a toothpick.
No, pacifist completely. If a Wookiee were to use their claws, kicked out of Wookiee society. They're only for
not
climbing.
pacifists. They have catamarans with guns on them.
Well, yeah, they can do that. But the claws are for really climbing the trees, and one of the things to their coming of age rituals is climbing the big tree.
Highlight Sherry's comment real quick. That's a neat one.
Yeah.
She says,
sorry, I was on the other screen.
She says, one of the first big Star Wars exhibits was called The Magic and the Myth. My family planned a vacation around at the Smithsonian. Cool. They actually got it in the Smithsonian. That was
that is amazing.
Star Wars going places.
I wonder if that was around prequel time, because I do remember there was a great documentary that released, I think, on Discovery Channel, and it was re-aired when Disney were getting ready to launch The Force Awakens, because Disney dug up all the media they could to advertise.
Oh yeah,
which made sense. And I think it was called Star Wars Myth and Magic. So similar wording to that title. I don't know if it's directly related, but it's about an hour long and it's really good. They've got some people from USC, professors, academics, people who knew George personally. You've got Spielberg and Coppola talking, sharing their views, and they obviously start almost chronologically the way we did, with Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. The hero with 1,000 faces. They don't go too much culturally in a broad kind of spectrum, which I think is something that we like to do when the opportunity arises here. But it's a really good documentary. It's probably a couple of years after probably the most seminal Star Wars behind-the-scenes documentary was made, which was the 2004 DVD special Empire of Dreams, which is just an excellent thing. And maybe in the future we could dedicate a whole episode just talking about one or two of these documentaries, because there's a lot in them. And
well, now that's a thing we've talked about, that this episode isn't just going to be a retrospective, but looking to the future. So those of you in the comments there, we hear you breathing. We know you're there. But like, let us know about what you think the future of this show would be. I think like a cool thing that we could do, because it's not limited. We could do like essentially a watch along, like the Thursday night watch along does, but to something more dedicated to the behind the scenes of Star Wars, that we could talk some of that knowledge. Like if we could watch Empire of Dreams, watch along and everybody and kind of discuss. I think that might be a future if people are interested. If they're not, then so be it. But
we could book out a long morning and watch it live, on the show.
Yeah,
they also had a good featurette about the Force exclusively on that same DVD set, where George talks about it, sums it up again.
Yeah,
cool. I mean, I'm assuming that's out there streaming somewhere to where everybody could have access to it. And
maybe I know Empire of Dreams is streaming on Disney Plus, and they even gave it an HD transfer. But I haven't seen the shorter featurettes from all those DVD sets.
Some of the shorter featurettes surely have found their way to like YouTube or something.
Yeah, probably YouTube, man.
But anyway, so like episode 3. There we go. This one we were having, I don't even know what the deal was with the thing here, but I made sure to capture it all in the screen grab.
Low res.
The low res, the all sorts of things, and you even saw the entire episode. You saw the artifacts of the Zoom room in the show.
Yeah. I think the plan was to try and get us both on screen, being able to talk together in more of a discussion podcast style format, but we didn't have the advanced technology of StreamYards that we are lucky to have now. And obviously Dave running all the production behind the scenes live as we're doing this. So big shout out to you for the 99 episodes or so that you've done with us.
Well, I
It's
think
been
Spencer was doing a lot of this then
But
too.
a little less is Spencer was doing a lot of the
yeah.
I don't remember if I produced the episodes that I guest hosted or not. I don't remember, but I think I officially came on as producer and permanent host somewhere in the neighborhood of episode 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think episode 9, if I remember correctly, so to 2021, was the first time that I think 3 of us were together. And that's been our trio since then. And it's been awesome going forward as the 3 of us. I don't know if you were producing from the 9th episode. I think Spencer was still doing stuff, and we might have had Jeff once or twice when Spencer wasn't available.
Yeah.
Which was a huge blessing, and again, huge shout out to Jeff because it's 8 a.m. for him, just like it is for you, Kat. So
I remember with this episode, we talked a lot about the prequels.
Yep.
The Jedi's self-fulfilling prophecy, which destroys them. Anakin's self-fulfilling prophecy in Revenge of the Sith, which destroys him. And then a little bit in the sequel trilogy as well, with Luke bringing about the starting everything up again. And so that was kind of what this episode was about.
Yeah, we very much talked about the kind of circularity in the narrative of the Star Wars saga, and it was very much tied up nicely and complete in the original 6 films. Not to throw any shade at Disney for the sequel trilogy, it's a different story for another time, but it's something that, even though some people had issues with it, especially with the kind of writing of the prequels and the expansion of the lore and the magic system in Star Wars to go from something entirely intangible but based on internal spirituality and feeling, which is the Force as laid out by Obi-Wan in Star Wars and Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, it very much became a lot broader and a lot more open to interpretation as we got the kind of the Jedi Order established as a society, as a religion or a cult, if you want to say that, in the prequels, and how you then have the scientific biochemistry coming in of midichlorians, which very infamously rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. But George Lucas always had a plan to bring in this biological element to kind of complement the metaphysical with the physical. And it makes sense because if you look at belief systems that are in our world, whether they're ancient or they're alive and kicking today, often the ones that resonate most with people, even if they don't have billions of people in their community, are about the reflective internal self linking in with the environment, the physicality, kind of unionizing the spiritual and the temporal aspects of our human condition and of our existence.
That's really where what I love about the early episodes of this show is, like I said, I've been watching since the beginning before I was even on, and just bringing Star Wars and connecting it to things that are in the real world like that, connecting Star Wars religion with actual religions around the world, and where George got those ideas. But ultimately, we'll talk about in some other episodes, like where now those religions get ideas from Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yeah. I mean, there's that famous stat that I don't know if it might have been the UK census, where there was like a kind of astroturfed campaign by some Star Wars fans and just general trolling with British sarcastic humor. I think the census in the early 2000s, where you can put down religious beliefs if you want to put that down. It's optional. You can say prefer not to say, as always, or you could put other. And Jedi came in the top 5 of people's stated religious beliefs in the UK, which it's an interesting sociological conversation for a broader time as well. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a mixture of ultra passionate fans becoming zealots, and as we've discussed in a more recent episode, which we might touch on later, the cult of Star Wars itself has very much been a huge impactful aspect of the saga and of the franchise around the world, and very much in the Western world at least, from the beginning. And I think what's also interesting is how the cultural impact of Star Wars, I think, was very much a North American and European thing, but then began to disseminate eastward across the world, which is almost dramatically ironic because one could say it's the Eastern beliefs and philosophies that disseminated across Western academia and got to USC, Joseph Campbell, and George Lucas, which is the
Yeah.
reason it exists. So again, there's a nice circularity to that as well, which I think is reflected in all of George Lucas's films, and a little bit in the sequels as well.
Well, and here's what we were talking about with Joseph Campbell and George Lucas's, what he was studying and talking about at USC. This is, I think, my second guest hosting appearance here. Is talking about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. Is Star Wars is, I think, and I think we share this view, has become such a timeless story because it was built on the principles of what timeless stories need to have. The archetypes of those is you have Obi-Wan is the space wizard, Luke is the callow youth, Han is the rogue and the scoundrel, and you have all of those classic archetypes built into it. And George didn't hit on that by accident. He got that by researching and knowing and studying other people, Joseph Campbell being largely among that. This Kurosawa and the Seven Samurai, and other things as well. But yeah.
Very, very much so. I think it's actually a question that I've been wondering since we talked about this episode, because I didn't bring it up on the live broadcast, and that is, and you touched on it already. Do you think George Lucas actively wrote these concepts into his story framework from the beginning, because he was, in that class with Joseph Campbell? Joseph Campbell, a professor of comparative mythology and somebody who'd been invested in mythology since coming across like Greek myths and legends as a kid, and he was in New York, so he was lucky enough to have access to a lot of the cultural institutions that are in New York City, which many other people wouldn't have had access to, like the American Museum of Natural History. And you can see those huge aspects in all of Joseph Campbell's work, but I wonder how much of George Lucas was actively trying to put in these archetypes from the hero's journey into his story from the foundational level, or do you think it could have been more of a osmotic creative aspect where he was so influenced and it was so in his subconsciousness that these aspects of Luke the hero, Han the smuggler, Obi-Wan the wizened male mentor, they might have just come out anyway in his storytelling because he's so influenced by it?
Well, I mean, I think that's an entire discussion for an entire show that could happen. There is, how many of these things are that when we do whatever in our daily life, when I create a new graphic for a show, what is it that's something that I haven't seen before that's influenced me? Is, George has said repeatedly his influences of the theater sequels of Flash Gordon and that sort of thing. Did he mean to do it? Did he not mean to do it?
If you read enough books and watch enough movies, it'll happen subconsciously. You'll just start creating these archetypes without even thinking about it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of level of thing that I think it is a lot of my own personal artwork is a reflection of other people's artwork, because I've both unconsciously, just by absorbing media, and consciously by studying historical artworks and the old masters and classics, and then more modern masters who of photography and layout, and I see, well, if that image were moved slightly off center here, that's going to make a more dynamic composition and move your eye around the page. I think George has probably gotten the same kind of thing. Is he's consumed enough media to know this is what we do, and now he is the people that which people are consuming and making new stuff.
Yeah, it's come full circle. And I think that is a huge aspect of art and creativity from, again, the human perspective, that the lens in which we come across things every day that we perceive, physically with our five senses often. I mean, traditionally it would have been reading, but I heard a really interesting view that it was from one of the old institutional newspapers, maybe Financial Times or something, but essentially saying that because the consumption of media has changed and shifted so significantly from written word to typed word through the 20th century to physical newspapers, broadsheets, tabloids, whatever tickled your fancy at the time. And then now, since the 2010s, the ubiquity of smartphones, whether you're Apple or Android, I mean, you kind of essentially have to be on the grid and connected to the wider world to do your daily admin and, work and play. But the consumption of media is now very much visual and video based. But it's not all doom and gloom, because it's not all just the kind of TikTok, very like creative slop, fast food type media where you got 10 seconds to have an impact and people, curate content as creators trying to go viral and become memes in the online culture, if not the wider world.
Yeah, and it's becoming a difficulty to find the media in print in certain things. Is a friend of mine, there's an article focused on him and a couple of other researchers that he works with in this month's National Geographic. Well, I found it readily, easily, and have read the entire article online, but I would like a physical copy of National Geographic.
Yeah.
Where do I get that?
You got to subscribe.
You can't go to the Walmart for National Geographic.
I was wondering that, actually, because I went into I don't know what you'd call it in the United States. We'd call it a newsagent's. So a little local store that, it sells everything from like sweets, crisps, chips, you'd call them, snacks of every kind, sugary, salty, all the fatty stuff, all the good stuff. And I was surprised they had a huge newspaper and magazine rack. So they had 6 rows going from floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
And they had every genre that you might remember seeing whenever
there
you
are
saw
places and you can do that. Is Walmart does carry magazines? Absolutely. I've never seen National Geographic there. Walmart is like, carries all the things. Grocery stores, I think, carry some manner of magazines and things. That definitely the tabloids by the checkouts, but they in the cards section and down the aisle.
We always got National Geographic at the checkout at a grocery store. Always.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking, Sherry, is like a good bookstore may be able to either order it or
some bookstores have
a good bookstore like Barnes and Noble or something. They may actually have magazines.
Well, Barnes and Noble always has all the latest issues of all the big magazines in the magazine section.
So hopefully it's just that I need to go and visit
but
that.
I imagine if you like it enough, it'd probably be cheaper just to subscribe than buying individual issues out of pocket.
Possibly.
Yeah. I always see them advertised, actually, in the few physical media that
I got 4-year subscription to American Cinematographer, where you buy 3 years and get the 4th year free. Mm-hmm. And that would have been a lot cheaper than buying them individually.
Well, see, several of the publications as I subscribe to is we'll talk about this a little bit. Is I do trap and skeet shooting, and I subscribe to their magazines. They're completely digital. They don't even have a physical magazine anymore.
Right. Do you remember how long ago it was that they used to have the physical copy?
I don't remember when that transition happened.
It's really interesting to see how much has changed, and so much of it has changed so hugely in just the last 15 years. I think having Wi-Fi more ubiquitous and accessible to everybody, having broadband, now having fiber internet, it makes sense that people's consumption, for better or worse, is on a screen. I'm still very resistive to ebooks.
I can't stand that.
Yeah, I tried digital comics for a while when I first got an iPad. I subscribed to the things and we're getting the digital comics, and nope, I'm back to physical media.
Yeah.
Is I have to have it this way. I would much rather devalue the comic that I've purchased by reading it once or twice carefully,
Exactly.
or loving it than seeing it only. I tried that for a while, and I also, this old man yelling at clouds, because why does the digital, why is it the same price, or often sometimes even more? Why
Yeah.
is
Because
I'm not buying a physical media,
because in reality it didn't cost them that much to print the physical. They just use that as an excuse. They're just penny pinching to not print it anymore, and so they're just charging you essentially for the content.
It's the content and the IP that's worth the money, is not the actual physical paper, even though comics are printed on such nicer paper than they used to be.
Oh God, I remember I remember I ordered an omnibus once, and I was pissed off when I got it because it was on newsprint.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's horrible. You want that nice shiny glossy paper that they have for most comics these days.
Well, I'm actually the opposite, and I want it on newsprint because that's what I'm used to. So we're a little bit of a different generation.
Generational divide.
I got the Nightfall trilogy on giant paperback newsprint, and it's like they get fingerprints, they get tiny little bits of driplets of water. It's like, I want the nice, newer, sleek, glossy paper that is easy to clean, that doesn't collect those things.
No, I like my older comics to have yellowed, damn it.
No. You want the UV sun damage.
You should look at all my old Bond novels. They all the pages are pink and blue and purple. I don't know how they changed such wild colors.
Now here's we're into the deep dives into Star Wars religion here. By episode 5, you're talking Mortis and the world between worlds.
Kat, I think we both look very spaced out there, so it's one all.
Yeah, that episode was self-explanatory. We were just talking about Mortis and how they deliberately didn't give you clear answers, even though they have very clear answers for what it is. And same with the world between worlds, where it's like, did they really jump the shark? Because now they've opened the door for less responsible storytellers down the road to just use that to retcon whatever they want. So far, they haven't done that because they still have somewhat responsible people running it. But it's like, is it worth the risk to introduce something that insane? And so we kind of talked a lot about that.
We talked about way later in there when they were looking at, and we had seen previews of the Ahsoka show, that Mortis, if in the wrong hands, could create time travel and the multiverse and so many things that I don't think we want in Star Wars.
I remember what we talked about. I was upset because it seemed obvious to me that the reason this exists is because Dave Filoni wanted to use it to save Ahsoka at the end of Rebels Season 2. And it's like, I know George talked about these things and he put it in Season 3, but then George was obviously gone by the time they got to Rebels, and you're going to use it for that? It's like, this sounds like you're just trying to... It's like a gimmick. It's like, no. Like, don't tell me you invented this and are running with this just to save Ahsoka. It's like, come on.
Well, at the very least, it has not been, in my opinion, yet overused. I mean, we've revisited it in Ahsoka in a good way, that we get to see some of the really amazing scenes with young Ahsoka and younger Anakin. It's been powerful. It hasn't necessarily gone the way that I was worried, which is the big portal in the original series of Star Trek is where they, look, you can view the time as it goes and jump in and out of it as you want. It hasn't, you can go save Elizabeth Taylor or not.
I actually didn't know. Was that an actual OG Star Trek storyline?
It totally was.
No way. Elizabeth Taylor.
There was. She was a character named, I think, Edith Keeler, possibly. That Spock and Kirk went back in time. Like, Bones had gone crazy and jumped through, and they were trying to find him, and they jumped just, but they spent the time and they got to know this character played by Elizabeth Taylor, and I think Kirk, as Kirk is wont to do, kind of fell in love with her, and she was destined to be killed, and he was there and could have saved him. And Spock's like, we're changing. Oh, what? And then you have to like watch it.
We should do a watch along of that episode. That sounds amazing.
I think that's a thing that we could do, is, to not to hawk the Trek, but we've done that several times. There are episodes later where we talk, like Revenge of the sequel, the greatest sequel ever made is, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan.
Empire Strikes Back. What? No,
well, I will give you that one. Is those in my mind are very closely related, and we talked about that in the episode. I don't think we'll even get to that one because that was further down the line.
It was a lot later, yeah.
But
I would always throw into the mix Terminator 2, and Aliens.
T2, Aliens, absolutely.
The Godfather 100%. Part 2.
I will throw in at this point, maybe not best and most well made, but impactful on a franchise is Top Gun Maverick. Has really been super impactful on that. And because I'm saying franchise, because they're going to make another one of those.
They should, though. It makes sense.
3 is coming.
Yeah.
But is a lot of them, or the rebirth of the franchise in, Ghostbusters 2 was very silly, funny, but it was a big thing. It kept the franchise going. Joan Collins, there you go. It was not Elizabeth Taylor. It was Joan Collins. Thank you, Sherry, for correcting me. It seemed like, yes.
Okay.
It seemed that playing that kind of regal Cleopatra kind of thing, but yes, Joan Collins in that.
That makes sense. It very much fits in with. I think Joan Collins and Elizabeth Taylor are from the same generation of actress and the same era of Hollywood, and I think they. When I was younger, they were interchangeable.
Other than and even outside of having the same kind of physicality, is they carry themselves in kind of a similar kind of way. I think it was probably more that Joan Collins was more of the TV actress and Elizabeth Taylor more of films, which makes sense to why exactly it was the Joan Collins in the thing. Thanks so much for correcting me and not just putting out the ridiculousness that sometimes I do. Because research, not necessarily where I go before spouting off.
Yeah, well, we didn't plan on honing in on a 1965 OG Star Trek episode. That came up organically, but that's a lot of the fun of this show. We're not just bound to constantly talking about Star Wars. We bring up other things.
Well, and things go on, and if they organically move, like we said, episode 5 was Mortis in the World Between Worlds. Episode 6 turned into more Mortis and adding in mystical places in Star Wars, like the Dagobah Cave. So it organically, the kind of topics and stuff move from one to the other. And then, from that sort of thing, talking about episode 7 here, and I'm sorry, Kat, this is probably the worst of the pictures so far, it's really difficult on this one. It's really difficult to get good screen grabs because I'm literally moving it back and forth, but we're always like, one of us is always talking. So you get and then the middle of the sentence.
We can do without screen grabs because it's just the two of us sitting on camera.
Well, I think it's funny because sometimes it was one big, one small. It gets there's been so many iterations of the technology as the shows evolve, because we are one of the oldest shows on the network. There were watch-alongs and things before that, specials, things that came on occasionally. They did a speaker series and all of that. But as far as regularly scheduled virtual Cantina Network after the rebrand there, it's us. The Sunday shows were first. Us and Jedi Archives are like the oldest, longest running shows going. And I think there's some pride to that, at least for me personally.
Oh,
Indeed, Sherry, right there reminds me of some of the screenshot of Spencer when his internet freezes.
Thank you, Sherry.
And there was plenty of that too in the original days of this, of the stuff freezing.
Yeah. Did we get the comment on YouTube earlier? We have Melissa joining us saying hi.
Yes, I had Melissa up and I waved. Hello, Melissa.
Thank you for joining us. Another West Coaster, so I really appreciate anyone from California and the Pacific Coast for joining us. Kat, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. And then again, like episode 8, we're talking more World Between Worlds, and you guys brought me on to even go deeper dive. And I think this one had a lot more of not just the world, but the Star Wars Trinity, the Mortis gods. But and it keeps going. We'll go through. Now this is where I really like. Yes, there were so many deep dives early on. Is a lot of it will deep dive now, but we'll deep dive on a much kind of shallower topic. Is we're talking about shows and Star Wars current news and things like that. But a lot of it, and this is some of my favorite stuff right here, this is our first what if. I really enjoyed that. The what if.
That's a good series. We should do more of those.
I think so. And chime in the comments if you agree with that. Is just coming in with like one little thing that could have happened in Star Wars, and we can talk for half or whatever on that. But yeah, I really did enjoy that. The what if Qui-Gon is.
Yeah, I think it's fun to look at the kind of the chronology as it stands, the lore, the canon, but then look at the alternatives. And I got the inspiration for that because I remember seeing on bookshelves I can't remember what it was called. I'm not sure if it was called Star Wars What If, but basically there was a graphic novel collection of a potential sequel to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is the very throwback novel, which was some ideas George Lucas had that were then discarded and then turned into a novel, which continued the storyline in A New Hope. But in this one, I remember flicking through, and I think Luke joins Vader. Rather than sacrificing himself. And then the Return of the Jedi version was Luke and Leia confronting one another. And it'd be interesting to actually go back and find out. I think it was published in the 90s, which is also the same timeline where Timothy Zahn was doing his sequel trilogy of books, the Heir to the Empire stuff. So it'd be interesting to know which one came first, whether it was Zahn's writing in the novel or the what if alternative timeline from the Dark Horse comic.
Yeah.
Because they're both 90s stuff.
Well, and thank you, Indy. We do try and give a very unique perspective and kind of ground it in real world and film history and connecting all of those things together, because it is a unifying force that surrounds us and binds us. And
yeah, he's right. We did a lot of deep dives early on, and we need to find it. The thing is, we ran through so many of the major topics so quickly that it's like, oh, what do we talk about now? And it's like, I think we can go on a more micro level now and revisiting the same topics, but on more specific sections of the lore.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a what if that occurs to me right now is, what if it had been the opposite? Is Luke and Leia were obviously separated, but what happened if Luke became the Prince of Alderaan and Leia had been raised on Tatooine? So
what if after rescuing the Chancellor, Obi-Wan and Anakin took their cavalry and went to go to Mandalore to help Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Like, what would have happened there?
You know, a simple what would have happened to the rest of the galaxy if Obi-Wan had abandoned the Order and settled down with Satine, or became the Duke of Mandalore, or whatever.
Or what would have happened if Palpatine really stayed dead and Luke still tried to rebuild the same old Jedi Order? What would have happened then? But somebody else had come along and tried to undo it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry, is there are a lot of whole things that we went down the rabbit hole early on, and you can see all of these on our Unifying Force playlist. I'm going to put that link right there in the chat for you. We've got a playlist of all 99 episodes to date, and this one will be there very shortly. So yeah, thank you for loving the what if iterations. As we've done a couple of those, they were super fun, and it's stuff, it's rabbit holes that we like to go down. And then here's like 10, and this I think is one of the last ones that I did screen grabs for. So Kat, you'll be happy about that. There are some more, but
notice how Dave has that really badass background on his, and Gio's got a nice one. And because of my technical limitations, I can't have a background. So what does Dave do? He looks for the worst screenshot he can find. Thank you, Dave. Well,
yours
I'll be sure to send all the Bambies your address.
Yours is the consistency, and you're always there in your media space.
You do have my poster of Bob Marley looking like, what the fuck, over at the Joker next to him, so I guess that works. Very deliberate placement on my part for those posters.
Yeah, no, that's good. Out of interest, what's on the right-hand side of Heath Ledger's Joker?
I can show you that right now. That's
there you go.
Johnny Depp's Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. I put that one up there because these two posters, this room is kind of like a hexagon octagon shape, and I have these laser lights and these black lights. And for some reason, those darker colored posters, when the light bounces off of it, it reflects those colors, and it just becomes really trippy, and it's really cool. That
sounds pretty dope. Yeah. I think.
And there's a better look at the Bob Marley Joker poster.
Oh, so you've got two Heath Ledger Jokers. Nice.
Yeah, and you see Bob's kind of looking at him like, what the hell?
Yeah. Wagwan, my Joker. Yeah. It's yeah, I've got a few things actually. We can do a micro show and tell. If this is something we can revisit actually, because everything we collect does age and get dustier and more decrepit. So even if we did a show and tell from a year ago, your lightsabers will look slightly differently.
Yes, thank you, Spencer, and thank you for helping to start the first show on there. As we looked at some of the episodes that you were producing shortly ago, because I think we're only about 2 episodes into where I was producing from I think episode 8 on, and
yeah. So I've brought up. Let's see if we can get it in focus. This is what I discussed. Oh no!
So hold it down. Let's see your eyes and hold it in front of your chest.
There we go.
And let's see. Yeah, there we go.
Too small. What is it?
This is the aforementioned. So if anyone wants to check out a few episodes ago, we talked about our favorite merch collectibles. This is Star Wars: The Power of the Force, or Le Pouvoir de la Force. Or El Poder de la Fuerza, because it's a European UK release, so we got the French and the Spanish, and it's Ben brackets Obi-Wan Kenobi looking awesome,
jacked.
And it's the Power of the Force collection from the late 90s, timed around the time of the re-releases or just ahead of the special editions. And it also has that little preview flashback photo that I mentioned. So it's an episode 1 flashback photo, and you have Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi labeled. And it's a still image of Alec Guinness in his hut talking to Luke, and then you pull the. I'll hold it in front of me.
Yeah, right there.
Oh yeah, look, have a look.
It's so small, I still can't really make out any details. What is it?
Okay, so that's the pull down preview to episode 1 Obi-Wan. So it goes from Alec Guinness, and then I pull it down. And it goes to Ewan McGregor.
Oh, I can't tell.
Yeah, it's For those of you
We'll
who
have to.
pinch and
We
zoom.
can do another collectible show because I could do 14 collectible shows from things within arm's reach of me right now.
Yeah. Do any of you have a Boba Fett helmet? I know the answer to that question.
You mean this?
We are on the spiritual journey of Boba Fett, so it feels like a good time to pull out the prop.
Well, it is because in the spiritual journey of Boba Fett is, we have young Boba Fett. There's a nice Daniel Logan. We've got all the stuntmen from Return of the Jedi, and we've got, from little sketches. Mark Anthony Austin does a little sketch of the Boba Fett helmet there. But Bespin Boba Fett over here. We have all of the different Tamora Morrison right down there. I think that was the first one that I got. And I, wish I had been doing this at a point where I could have gotten a Jeremy Bulloch on it. But alas, I was not.
Well, he's with you in spirit.
Well, I'm looking every day for things that I could do to do it. Is when I get that in a proper display cases, I may put an 8x10 or something of a Jeremy Bulloch behind that. Or I'm looking for, if any of you out there know, the little that they do the aluminum or metal tags, labels, museum labels. If they said Boba Fett helmet and then Jeremy Bulloch, because a lot of people had them sign that instead of the actual helmet.
Yeah. Well, in a way, you went on your own kind of spiritual journey collecting.
Oh, completely. Is that's brought me to a lot of places, and a lot of places that I've carried that with me in different ways to get it. I evolved from keeping it in my suitcase to where I have a padded motorcycle helmet bag that it now travels in. And
I was going to ask, because that's something I don't have too many collectibles, merch that are, physically impressive like that. But, there's thousands of people who travel with their lightsabers everywhere, whether it's, Disney Legacy, Hasbro, the Black Series, or one of the 128 bajillion third-party lightsaber manufacturers.
Yeah.
And I always wonder how on earth people just transport it successfully every time, because I get a cabin bag, and sometimes there's something squashed in it that I find after the flight. So it always impresses me how anyone takes their merch and gets it signed.
Merch's stuff is I generally have cardboard boxes inside, and often I put them in acrylic protectors inside of a cardboard box inside of my I try and get as much of it as I can in my carry-on. But yeah, is Spencer's sitting there. He's got a saber bag. They have the ones that you get when you make a saber, but there's an upgrade that you can buy as well. I go a little bit of a step further than that. Is the saber hilt tends to travel with me in my carry-on, and I have as my personal item, I have a large heavy plastic tube that was made for transporting fishing rods. That I have put pool noodles or insulation foam inside of that I can put the blades inside of that. Now you do have to watch sometimes is not having it in your checked baggage is when you carry a lightsaber, they're going to want to open your luggage. So have it on top and have it but then it's a fun deal in security is those guys are like, what? It's a lightsaber. It does this. Yeah. It's all I've literally taken some time when I had a time on a flight in security. It's like, no, look over here. And it's the blades because they have that open the blade, put in the middle of security and turning on the,
So much to the annoyance of everybody waiting in line behind you, Dave.
Yeah. You might be having fun, but their holidays,
Hey.
there's the time's ticking on their holiday time, their vacation.
Yes, that is it.
It's kind of, so what are you saying? The TSA are profiling the Jedi? What's going on?
Yeah, it's exactly. Stopped several times with it in all seriousness. Yeah, is the fishing rod tube gets pulled for extra hand inspection every time. So they'll do that, but I have never forgotten it. They will occasionally, on some flights, there's like a coat closet that you can put it in, and they will put it there. But see, yeah, it is. It's a fun way to like share with the TSA people. Like in Orlando, they don't blink. Okay, at MCO, they know exactly what's going on. But at other places, yeah, you're gonna have to educate security on to what this is. And I've a couple of times had to go, look, here is the TSA rule that says lightsabers are cool.
Yeah, have that screenshot ready to go in your favorites photo album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, because that's something I've never done. And I'm not the most prevalent con goer. Obviously, it's a lot more limited in the UK and Europe compared to US and North America generally. The cultural comic convention aspect is very much a US thing that's then disseminated, which is really cool because as you guys know, we visited an actual comic book convention very recently, just in London, and it was. I felt like I was watching the origins of cons because it was just an entire hall of people exhibiting and selling their comics, which is obviously where the etymology of the term Comic Con would have come from. And it was pretty cool to see that because I'd never seen that before. When I've gone to conventions, it's very much the modern day kind of multimedia.
It's more of a celebrity con as opposed to a Comic Con or a pop culture con.
Yeah, definitely pop culture con with, if you want to fork out for the photo ops and the autos, you've got that too. And then panels. I think panels is a huge aspect. I'd like to know actually from some of our viewers and people in the VCN and just generally fans beyond Star Wars, as well as including what their number 1, 2, 3 things are in conventions, because I'd imagine it's highly dependent on what's accessible to them at the time. And I appreciate that some events are just one day, single time only events, like big panels, like podcast discussions, cosplay, fashion shows, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting topic to get into, and it would be great to have some fans on to, because I have my opinions and things that I do, but I love going to smaller cons too, which are like the one you're talking about. Is they're way more specific at that point. Oh, hey, like let's see, here's Spencer's list right there. 1, celebrities. 2, the vendors. 3, the panels. Is yeah, I'm seeing that. Is our Melissa is sharing panels first, costuming and merch is absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I would go with, my heart would say comics first, but I think at this point I'm a little bit beyond that. That's would be my number 1 in my heart, but it's not my number 1 in practice. My number 1 in practice is generally autographing, is going and finding celebrities to have things autographed. And then it would be, I love digging through and rescuing comics at the dollar bins. Like I'll go through your regular bin, but if you got dollar bins of comics, I'm at your booth like for half an hour. But Sherry's is right there, and Sherry loved the panels. The smaller panels are great. You're right. That's the thing to do. The unexpected ones that you don't know is going to be amazing. Yeah. And then, Spencer's got, a reason to go, not to go just for the sake of going to a con. Sometimes I'm the opposite of that. Sometimes I go to a con just to go to a con, because right now it's been a while since I've been to a con and I want to go to a con. It's like I need to get there. I need to find one, and I'm not, of the time that I could be at New York Comic Con this weekend, but people could. I love it. Yes, is costuming and seeing people in costume is a hugely fun part of cons. Even if I am not, if it's a con that it's further away from me and I haven't, gone to the links to bring my cosplay with me, I love watching other people and the links that they've gone to. Let's see what we got. Oh, raison d'être. for any of these big in person. Depends on other factors. What's available, what you can get. Yeah, is who you can see. Is every con is going to be different, and all of those things are. And this fun social experience, I love that is going there, and not necessarily. I don't think I'm going to be able to make Rhode Island. But the beautiful part of this is we're talking about all this cons, and I can take the time to introduce this. Our friend Bryce, one of the mods on the group, is working really hard at getting us a calendar of all of the cons that are going on. And he's actually doing this worldwide. So the VCN is going to start doing like weekly, monthly, and you'll have access to this calendar of what's going on in different places. There'll be smaller cons, bigger cons, any kind of con that has Star Wars in it or kind of adjacent fandoms. I think instead of Rhode Island, I'm probably going to be going to this one, the North Carolina Comic Con on November 8th and 9th. And that is a more comic con because Larry Hama, creator, writer of G.I. Joe, will be there. And this one is a con that their main celebrity guests are just the comic creators.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I love going to see the indie artist writers and everybody going through Artist Alley. Those are some of the nicest people, and you can have a great conversation with. Howard Shaken, who was the artist for the original Star Wars Marvel comics adaptations, at least the cover artist, and for those, had a great conversation with him at GalaxyCon Raleigh recently. And that conversation with him is, I knew him for his Star Wars work, but it inspired me to go out, search out, and buy his own artwork, ones that he wrote and did the art for. And so I'm beginning to start reading that work, and that's the really cool thing.
Yeah, these are things that I think when you're in the cultural aspect of it, when you're in the community, you discover these things. They might be the reason that draws you into going around or visiting, but while you're there or while you're preparing it, you might incidentally find, oh, this author from the 1979 run of Spider-Man that influenced Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
I've just plucked that out of somewhere, so don't come at me. But yeah, those little things that you find, these little connections, whether it's with the creator, the artist, the writer, however small or big they are, or with other people, someone else who's also hunting, that 1988 version of The Dark Knight. And you can, as you're saying, you flick through them like you're almost, thrift store hunting. And you can do that, which is obviously really cool.
Yeah, and like I said, is the interactions and fun that you can have with these artists who don't have the huge line that they probably should, that a lot of the celebrities have. I mean, I had a 25-minute conversation with Howard Chaykin beyond what we were talking about Star Wars, about the new Superman movie, because I am passionate about that, and he had a run on Star Wars. He created the cover painting for I think it was issue 400. Anyway, like one of the greatest covers of Superman.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, and he his opinions on the new movie were interesting, very interesting to me.
Yeah, just going back to the episode, I guess. Sorry, we'll come back to that comment in a second. Thank you. The spiritual journey of Boba Fett. I think reflecting on it and remembering what we talked about, we very much looked at his entire life and his various iterations, mostly on screen in the Star Wars films, in the saga, and of course, hugely in the Clone Wars. There's so much extra character development that Dave Filoni et al. Did with the Clone Wars, which makes it, again, if you're new here or you haven't had the opportunity to check out the Clone Wars, it's incredible and it's worth shouting out. We've got Clone Wars Revisited, an ongoing series on Mondays on the Virtual Cantina Network, which is well worth checking out, where they do watch-alongs of Clone Wars episodes chronologically. And I really think we could have a few crossover discussions with them, with Mark, Ashley, and Skip, especially, thinking about revisiting Origins of the Force, The World Between Worlds, the Mortis Overlords 3-part arc. But Boba Fett's not somebody people very much associate with any kind of spiritual aspect. But this episode, we kind of talked about the psychology behind, a warrior, somebody who is a clone, and what it means to be human, because, he's not an original person himself, but he has very much his own character, which is separate from Jango Fett, because obviously his lived experience is entirely different. He has the childhood trauma of losing his kind of father, at least in biological cloning terms.
Right.
And obviously that's going to be traumatic. And I don't think we touched on too much in terms of the trauma aspect of him, but I think we also had a look ahead, because this was before the Boba Fett Disney Plus series, and we had some ideas on where it could go, and looked at kind of EU stuff, the expanded universe stuff before the reset with Disney canon. And sometimes we do have these previews and prediction aspects of our show, usually at the end of a discussion episode like that one. And I feel like our ideas for Boba Fett were much more fun and interesting than, if I can say, what transpired in the 6-episode run, which really was only 4.5 episodes of Boba, or maybe even less.
100%.
Say again?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your memories of our Boba Fett discussions, Kat?
I don't really remember the Boba Fett discussion, because Boba Fett, it's like, okay, so we have the prequel thing, and then they revisited him a bit in Clone Wars, but then they deleted some of his storylines because the show got canceled. So then we kind of spitballed from there.
I do remember that at one point we did a lot of discussion, and it might have been this episode, it might have been another episode, about how I think a lot of Din Djarin's journey and the Mandalorians, what has happened in that show, was originally written as Boba Fett.
Absolutely right. I think that was a massive component of our discussion, maybe, among the top 3 points that we discussed. And now that you've mentioned it, it's coming back to me, a flood of memories. We kind of discussed how Boba Fett's character was stripped of agency and intrigue, because a lot of the ideas about Mandalorians, about being a bounty hunter, a mercenary in this kind of lawless part of the galaxy, would have been things that Boba Fett could have very much starred in. But for better or worse, we got a whole entire organic character in Din Djarin.
Yeah. We may have also talked about the alternate history of Jango Fett as well, because that fed into Boba Fett.
Yeah. So, do you want to remind us what that was?
He was a farmer on a planet, and he got taken by the Jaster Muriel and the other Mandalorians, and became Jaster's friend. And then Montross led a revolt against them because he didn't think there was an actual leader. It was like a council or whatever. And Jaster was killed, the council was wiped out, and so Montross led the Mandalorians against the Jedi. They failed, and then along comes Tyrannus years later and pits Jango and Montross in a competition to decide who can be the clone template, and they're going against the Stark Jedi. And because Jango is really respected the leader of the Mandalorians, he imbued a lot of that culture onto Boba Fett when he was raising him. But then in the new Disney canon, they scrapped that backstory and said that, went out of their way to emphasize that Jango and Boba weren't legit Mandalorians, which was very strange.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And then they turned the Mandalorians into different sects, and one being like a cult, as we saw with Din Djarin, and the storyline of the first 2 seasons deprogramming him basically from his cult or whatever, and finally bringing back Boba Fett. But inconsistently, he was like, I'm tired of working for idiots. And it's like, well, the last 2 people he worked for were Jabba and Vader, and they're pretty smart.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of Boba's mystery went away. A lot of Boba Fett's and Mandalorians in general mystery went away in the Clone Wars and a lot of the media that we consume, but the casual fan may not have, that they experience that fresh when watching the Disney Plus shows. Is they're ones who had never seen the Mandalorian arc from Clone Wars, and they've never seen.
I think we temporarily lost Dave.
We did. It's reminiscent of our earlier episodes.
Yeah,
I
this is a
think that's
throwback.
StreamYard's way of telling us we've spent too much time covering episode 10. It's time to
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on to episode 11.
Well, let's move on. Well, we're going to do that, and we're going to go a little faster, and we're not going to do this for all 99 episodes, people. Is the next episodes we'll just look at and chime in a little bit. So 11, we the Jedi as a spiritual movement or a religious institution, the differences in that. Keepers of the Peace or straight up warriors, taking the line from I believe Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, yeah.
We'll go in there. 13 is where we kind of just started looking at and reviewing current Star Wars properties. Is we looked at Star Wars Visions, which is getting ready to come up again. Is Visions season 3. I think drops in late October, and we'll be able to take a look back at that. And I think it's a fun thing with Visions that you're using a lot of these Asian anime studios and the kind of media that may have inspired George. Is he wasn't looking at anime, he was looking at like live action stuff with the Kurosawa films. But I think that's fun, and that's a fun art imitates life, imitates art, kind of thing going on.
Definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of art is iterative.
Yeah.
There's no art that's truly original. It comes from your experiences, with historical things, with personal things, and you build upon your own reflections and your own creativity with that which inspires you. So that's why every piece of art is valid and unique from each individual. And I think Visions is an example of seeing that in a wider cultural phenomenon, because you've got the takes of these different 9 anime studios, which produce these mini episodes. And I think it's an amazing format, and I'd love to see Visions go on every year with a new volume. And also with the Tales of series as well. I think it'd be great. I appreciate it's a lot harder to produce those because of how blockbuster budget the CG now is. And if you look at Tales of episodes or The Bad Batch and compare it to season 1 of Clone Wars, it's night and day in visual terms. But technology evolves, just like we've had on our show. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's a part of it all.
And then episode 14, we talked about orphans in Star Wars and other literature, and I think we opined that Star Wars needs to get away from the orphan story because it's done that too many times, and it has the same.
Everybody needs to get away from the orphan story, like
Yeah.
DC Comics does that to death. Is everything your parents always die. That's the impetus in becoming a superhero or for doing something memorable, apparently. And then they harp on it over and over and over and tell that origin again and again and again.
This is a wider cultural comment, and hopefully it's not too hot of a take, but isn't it interesting how in certain parts of the Western world there's been like traditionalist comeback about, the mum and the dad and the nuclear family and having these traditional kind of more conservative values, and yet what so many people who might have those views personally and in society love are these stories about people who have no parents, who come from nothing, and have all the stereotypes made about them, whether it's Clark Kent literally being an alien, but of course the term alien is, one can say, misused and misappropriated.
We can, and I will go down the rabbit hole about that entirely, because is what makes Clark Kent, and I know my answer to this, the fact that he is an orphan and an alien of Krypton, or the fact that, he says in one of the movies, it's like, I'm not an alien, I'm from Kansas, is that he has the nuclear family, but it's an adopted nuclear family. It's that kind of thing.
Which is such a nice sentiment and a very progressive issue, which has been, that I'd say that aspect of Clark Kent's been there since the beginning, I would guess. I mean, I've not read Superman since 1930s and 40s, but it's a massive aspect of his character. If you write anybody to be a physical alien coming to the US, coming to Earth, and then becoming a savior, then you're going to have that as a huge sociological theme.
Well, just in the movies wise, it was a huge part of the 70s Christopher Reeve original movie, the 1978 movie. So hugely important in that. But anyway, down the rabbit hole. But, you know, episode 15 we're going again is like, could the Star Wars story have been told without Anakin Skywalker?
No.
Ooh, I mean, right. There's your short answer. And then, but we went on for an hour about that because you know, we can always, you know, play devil's advocate and this and that. And that's the fun kind of thing. Is this is the kind of thing we want from you, the viewers, all those people out there, is when we take a question, one question, even if the short answer is yes, or the short answer is no.
Yeah.
We can twist that and go down that and have that discussion with you. And that's the kind of thing we really enjoy doing.
Did we touch on Sherry's comment about Comic Expo Cincinnati?
I did not. I do not believe I brought that one up there.
Yeah,
is Cincinnati. Comes with that. Cincinnati is the one this year, Sherry, where it's a pretty much exclusively Superman lineup. Right? Is it Superman from like all the properties, and bringing in Smallville actors and smaller actors smaller parts, not smaller actors from the different movies and shows and animation and all of that. Is I think that's that I saw that was, and I thought maybe not the place for something as large as Cincinnati Comic Expo, or one that people have come to expect a wide breadth of people. Yeah, so it is. That's a Superman only. But I thought that was a really interesting concept for a con, is to really hone in on one property and really super focus on that. I thought that was interesting. And were I closer to Cincinnati, I think I would be there for sure.
Is it a very much established big time con?
Well, like she was alluding to, it's the major venue there in Cincinnati is under construction. Right. And they are moving it back to, I believe it was the previous location where it started, and where they held it before it became as large of a con as it is. So it's a really nice, pretty good sized con. I mean, it's not, you know, New York Comic Expo, but it's a big one right there. But moving it to the smaller location and then having this like really specific guest list may be a thing.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, we're looking for the questions and things. All right, and here we go from 16 through 20, and then we'll stop going episode by episode. You know, because 16 was a tough episode to do, and I think an important episode. Yeah. Becoming One with the Force, Death in the Star Wars Universe and Death in Our Universe. That one was dedicated to our friend Rich Herman, who passed away shortly before that. So yeah, super important episode to have. And it was our first episode. Like, we would be on more episodes than that, because we took a break for a while after Rich's death. Is Rich was one of the hosts on our sister show, the other Sunday show, Jedi Archives, and a regular member of the virtual cantina the Tuesday night happy hour. And then that hit us really hard, but it did really lead to a really interesting discussion in that episode as well. Then of course, you know, 17, what we've been discussing when we talked really a long time about 10, is that the changes to the personality of Boba Fett as it's happened. And then 18, the choices, often bad choices, of the Jedi. Another one line from a movie that influences an entire topic. Episode 19 was, do only the Sith deal in absolutes, or do the Jedi as well? Or saying only the Sith deal in absolutes is in itself an absolute. So yeah, no, if it hadn't been Anakin, it would have been there had to have been an archetype of that had to kind of do it. Yeah, here for the cultural the analysis of every single line that's kind of the way that it happened at one point. It's like, what is this? And Star Wars, there are other films, but Star Wars is so infinitely quotable and has become such a part of our culture in that way. Is I'm sure there are people out there who will, say, do or do not, there is no try, or something like that, and not really fully understand where that came from, or what that line is, or why are they saying it that way. They've just heard other people say it to a point, or it's a meme that's on a thing, and so that kind of there.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how it's permeated the cultural zeitgeist to such an extent that I know people who aren't big Star Wars fans, but they know intricately the storylines of Anakin and Padme, and some of it is genuinely through like Reddit prequel memes.
Yeah.
And it's we could talk about this again at length another time, but the kind of iterative process of what's in the meta and what kind of stays in online culture or then filters down to in real life culture. And yeah, Star Wars films are infinitely quotable, whether it's some deep banger that Yoda gives on Dagobah to Luke. I think one of my favorite quotes of all time, Star Wars or not, is Yoda talking about how luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
Right. Yes.
I think that could be an epitaph. It's really such an eternal line, and maybe we could do a whole show on that, because we'll bring back a lot of origins of the Force. There's a whole lot of spirituality and philosophy in every word. And I guess we have the next 100 episodes lined up. We just take a line of dialogue.
Hey, that's right. We'll just start. We'll find. Here we go. Well, then we'll have to argue for an entire episode. Is if we're going through all the movies and then just taking it line by line in the dialogue, is which episode do we start with?
Our favorite. I think it's interesting though, because we kind of, and I love the kind of spirituality adjacent conversations we've had. I don't think we've had spiritual journeys and things in titles, but when we're looking at someone like Boba Fett, obviously he's not a religious person. He, in a way, has a very strong spirit, but we could, very much go specifically into that rabbit hole with spirituality for the aspects of the Force. But there's other Star Wars media that's got incredible lines as well, and I think Andor is full of them. Andor has such resonant dialogue and such high quality writing. We've been really treated by Tony Gilroy and the entire crew and cast there. And one that has come to mind and been, a tip of the tongue that I wanted to mention actually is, I have friends everywhere.
Yes.
Because I think society online and offline, sometimes we're in a loneliness epidemic, and a lot of people are struggling with that, along with other structural and societal issues.
The impetus of this network, Geo, is this, like, so much of the explosion of the virtual Cantina family came from lockdown and COVID and being able to the fact we are that right now. Is I am on the East Coast, you're in London, Kat's in Northern California, and are these friends that without this technology, without this show, without being, members of the Star Wars community and such fans, would the three of us know each other or interact on as a regular basis as we do? No.
Yeah.
I mean, the virtual Cantina is global. It's worldwide. We have mods in show hosts in England, mods in Ireland, mods in Australia. Just everybody all over the world, and then members from, you know, Canada, Europe, Asia, everywhere. And this is we have friends everywhere. That's it really deeply felt, and what this is about.
Absolutely. It also makes me reflect on past experiences, past friendships, relationships, you know, because you have so many relationships through life, and, you know, none of them are forever. Everything is temporary and transient. So we have to just be thankful, however difficult things are, to, you know, still be alive and kicking, really. Where
Yeah.
there is breath, there is hope. I think that might be a line from Stephen Hawking. But yeah.
Yeah,
What
and
really,
right there, the Andor
yeah.
line resonated because of the VCN family so much. Is, I mean, I teach elementary school, as I teach children, and I think I was probably this way until I was older. Is that so many of those children, they don't know anyone outside of like a 2 or 3 city area, you know, is they haven't, you know, many of them born, raised, grown up, and this is, you know, the first 10 years, 11 years of their life is, we live here. These are the people I know. This is where all of my family and all of my friends and all of my people are. But there's so much more to the wide world beyond that. And you might know of someone or have seen them, but what really constantly impresses the children is when we are discussing something, and like, I have met people that are in Star Wars and things, or like Star Wars doesn't impress them as much, but like, I've met the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in person, and they're like, "What?" It's like, where is this?
Which version of Sonic is that? Ben Schwartz?
So I have been at comics at cons with Ben Schwartz, but have never stood in his line because it's so long. Is Jaleel White, Urkel, was one of the early voices of Sonic, and so I have met him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a recent pop cultural blind spot, but I haven't seen the 3 recent Sonic films, but I've heard really good things about them, and I'm
The
eager
children,
to take them
the
off
children
my
love
list.
them. The children love them.
That's awesome, because I was concerned for a bit that these kind of gaming icons, which became cultural icons like Mario, like Sonic, were very much gonna die with the millennial generation, but Gen Z have taken them up nicely, and if the generation Gen Alpha, I guess, is what
Yeah.
you'd be teaching now, are taking it up, then that's great.
Yeah, I have a poster, a Mario poster from Martinet, that signed it to the boys and girls of Pathways Elementary School, and that hangs in my art classroom, and they love that. It's like, "You've met Mario?" Yes, I have.
Yeah, the original Mario, not Chris Pratt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. You should bring that to show and tell at some point.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
But anyway, some things going on, and like here we've talked about like the first 20, and we're not going to talk about the all the rest of them. Is what we've got next is I put together my favorites of the episodes, just you know, favorite ones that I've had out there, and let's just kind of like talk through this one. This one I love. This was our first year. We're at 100 episodes, but we're on, you know, twice a month. Okay. So, and there were the periods like that around Rich's death that we took some time off for ourselves, but we had like 2 different things. See, here's the technology. We had 2 different layouts during that show. We never could have done that in the original days, but we had our 1 year of the Unifying Force, and that was Happy Mother's Day, talking about all the mothers in Star Wars.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of a Disney thing where mothers are treated really badly in Disney storytelling generally? I remember this
don't know. Fathers are teach it treated like they're idiots in the vast majority of.
True,
Like
but
maybe this is like ABC, which is owned by Disney, but the sitcoms and stuff.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, let's take it back to a recent conversation. Bambi's mother.
Yes.
You know, you might have something to say about that, Dave.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, what have you been doing in your extracurricular activities?
Yes,
Is
that
rabbit season
created
or-
a trauma for Bambi. That was her mother was treated, but father was treated well in that one.
Yeah.
The king of the forest.
I think this came
Bambi's
up.
mom got the short end of the stick. A number of these mothers got the short
Well,
end. Of the
I think Bambi's dad was given the short end of the stick, and not a very present father.
Yeah, Bambi had it rough. Come on.
Well, yes, the animal kingdom are all when dad just jumped in. But a number of these mothers in here have not gotten the best here either. Is Padme died of sadness. I think just going and looking Sabine's mom, they were estranged. We barely knew about until the Obi-Wan show, and the Obi-Wan show, did we know anything about help me think of her first name. What's
I can't remember. Leia's stepmom.
Leia's adopted mom is
Organa.
Brea.
Brea, that's it. Who's the one on the top right with the red hair?
Top
Mara
right's
Jade.
Mara Jade.
Mara Jade,
Yeah.
okay.
From the EU, would have been really kind of the mother of Ben, except it was Ben Skywalker as opposed to Ben Solo. They kind of twisted the EU and all the things.
Yeah.
Then Aunt Beru, dude, like original Aunt Beru, this crispy critter fried by stormtroopers of all things who can't hit the broadside of a barn, but they can definitely burn down a camp on Tatooine.
Yeah. I will say one thing in defense of George Lucas's phenomenal writing of Padme's death. So they do say, for some reason we're losing her, and Obi-Wan asks why, and the droid says she's just lost the will to live.
Yes.
There's a lot of maternal death in pregnancy. I'll say that. It's a miracle, even in 2025, that mothers can have healthy pregnancies and carry a baby to term, and then hopefully have a fulfilling life as a mother and parent afterwards with their child. But there is such a thing as broken heart syndrome. So you can genuinely die. It can be a terminal acute event. It's an eponymous condition called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, and it's a sudden and temporary weakening of the heart function. But if you already have other health issues, you can die due to extreme emotional or physical stress. Grief, trauma, psychologically and emotionally, or obviously the physical sense, which we can all understand: stroke, surgery, infection. So Padme very easily, in my eyes, her death is legitimate. I like to make fun of it.
I like the headcanon in that has been alluded to, or many things had said that Palpatine took the life force away from her to preserve Anakin because he needed Anakin. And him allegedly being the disciple of Plagueis, who could manipulate life, and that's the whole point. And how he's strung along Anakin is, we can do this.
We should do that as a future discussion, actually.
Yeah,
the kind of the what ifs there, and also what it means. I prefer, and I don't know if I'll say this with respect and humility. I think it's my take on it. That is, Palpatine is a liar. He never had the ability to cheat death. He suckered Anakin in. Anakin was stupid. We know that. There's some great memes with AI dialogue. I think Kat's shared it before, and I've seen it a few times, of Anakin responding to Palpatine saying, "Could you cite the sources and references and academically of these suppositions you're making?" and Palpatine's like, "Oh God." Revenge of the Sith would go very different.
One of my biggest regrets about the cancellation of the Acolyte is that they tease us with Plagueis, And now we don't get to find out more, which could have led to that whole the whole thing that
I would bet anything they had no idea what they were doing with that. They just plopped that in there because that's become the norm for all these Disney Plus shows, whether they're Star Wars or Marvel. We got to put a tease in there for something, even if we don't know where it's going. Like even Feige said recently that, like 90% of the teases you saw in all the Phase 4 and 5 is not going to be revisited at all because it was mandates from Disney that we have to tease new things and quantity over quality and all that stuff. So I really don't think they thought about it, because if they'd really thought about knowing what Darth Plagueis means to the fan base, they would have incorporated him into that show a lot more. Because remember, that show was supposed to be one season miniseries. It just
that's true too. There never
we already
was.
had that conversation,
but we could have had a Plagueis and miniseries something. I don't know. But anyway, I enjoyed very much the Mother's Day episode. I was raised by a single mother, and this is the equating that to the motherhood in Star Wars and how much trauma and grief and things that they've gone to for their children resonates highly.
Yeah, I will add just two things. I'll finish the sentence I did. I did start. Tangents, though, we love them, don't we? So my feeling, and I would love to have asked George Lucas this if ever I get the chance. I think Anakin, he's the chosen one. He is the most powerful Force user in the galaxy. He had such an emotional fixation on Padme. He was the last person that he truly loved, besides maybe Obi-Wan, that I think Anakin, his spirit was bound to Padme. This is a bit of a romantic take. And in the simultaneous moment where Anakin's being reborn as the horror mechanical version of Darth Vader, his spirit and Padme's were kind of connected, and he managed to stay alive despite 99.9% of people definitely perishing by being burnt on the side of a lava lake. That he kind of willed Padme's spirit to join him, and Padme would have wanted to give her life for Anakin. And so, through the Force, Anakin is the reason why Padme was dying there, and Padme almost gave her life to Anakin. And I think that is the crux of tragedy. And it to me, that makes it, a Greek tragedy, that makes it Shakespearean. It makes it a lot more profound. But one of the best things about Star Wars or any literature or media is that we can have our own analysis on it.
I kind of think I like that one even more than mine, is that Padme would have chosen in the Force to give her life to Anakin to save him, because she would have physically if she were there to do so.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about mothers, I'm not sure if we discussed this at length in the episode, but culturally, there are a few less well-known religions and faiths and belief systems where, from ancient times or tribal times, you see this in a lot of indigenous First Peoples and newer belief systems, that mothers are, by default, either completely equal and level with men, which sadly doesn't happen in 2025. We know about glass ceilings and sexism and misogyny coming back in workplaces, but there are these groups of people and belief systems where women are even superior to men, and one of the reasons about that is being able to be a mother, and not necessarily biologically a mother and have children, although that's a huge physical and genetic aspect, but just the fact that the female presence has its own uniqueness and sensibilities. And you see this in modern faiths like the Sikh belief system. You see this in First Peoples groups in North America, lots of indigenous native tribes where women are revered almost like gods themselves. And I think that's it's important to remember. And I think if more people read and heard about those things, there'd be a lot less sexism in society now.
Well, yeah, because all of the big three major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are all fake and constructed, and incorporates a lot of sexism and demonize. And a lot of the symbols for what they consider evil are just demonizing indigenous cultures and demonizing specifically the fact that the sexes were a lot more equal in other societies or in previous religions, and just trying to, make up dumb stories to. And it's like, that I'm kind of shocked that monotheistic religions still have much of a hold as they do in the 21st century, but. Yeah, that's
well,
a whole
a lot of
conversation as
a
well.
lot of the denial
A future
of
episode for sure.
Yeah.
of major religions, the denial of how much and what parts of their religion came from these other tribal religions and pagan religions beforehand, you know, is why did we choose to set Christmas in the
Yeah, I mean,
no,
we could.
never mind. Don't see there. Ignore the man
Nothing to
behind the
fear.
curtain.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Don't look behind the curtain. There's nothing there.
No,
Yeah,
why is Easter not on a specific date? Oh, it's because of the solstice and the the springtime and the pagan religions about
yeah,
it's about spring and the solstice and the that's why the Easter rabbit reproduction, the new life.
yeah.
It's like, oh, that don't look
Renaissance,
at that.
rebirth.
Yeah.
I
Never
mean,
you mind. Nope. That was Jesus.
yeah. I mean, we're imminently
Goes
gonna.
to Jesus.
We're in spooky season now, right? I don't know
Yes.
how into overdrive Halloween stuff's been in the US in the last few weeks, but it's been pumpkin spice latte and spooky season here for at least a month. And
Yes.
yeah, that take is literally Ben and Ray. What do you mean, Melissa? Do you mean the Anakin and Padme giving life to one another?
That could be.
I think that is. I think Sherry mentioned it a little bit earlier. Sherry said,
Oh
like,
yeah,
Ben
right there.
gave his Ben gave his to Ray. Now,
Yeah.
when I watched The Rise of Skywalker, I felt so many conflicting emotions. I actually was a little bit choked up at the end there with Ben and Ray, but also it was ridiculous. And the audience that I watched it with on opening night, half of them laughed when they kissed, and the other half went, "Oh." And it was so bizarre. I've never heard that simultaneous polar opposite response to one moment in a film ever.
Such a bad film, right?
Yeah,
Well, just wait till we
Well,
do that.
that's
review.
what would have happened had
Say
the
it's like
three of us
poetry.
seen that movie together. His cat would have been over there. She would have-
That is without doubt. I'm a cinephile, for those who don't know. The worst cinematic experience I ever had was seeing The Rise of Skywalker in theaters. That was so crushing.
for me, it was The Force Awakens, but we'll talk about that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about how eventually we're going to do episodes where we just do reviews of each of the live action films, and because
Yeah.
we only do this show twice a month, that would take up a lot of time.
Absolutely.
But we don't have to do them all
No,
consecutively.
not
either, so we
not
can-
no. That would be
We could maybe tie it into any revisited watch-alongs because I'm sure the Star Wars films are going to come up again soon. But also we can do it in commemoration. So, for example, we could have done a whole episode re-reviewing Revenge of the Sith for the
Well,
anniversary.
yeah, we can review the original Star Wars for the 50th anniversary in May 2027.
yeah.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I know all the times. All right, let's go to pop it to another one. Okay, this one is a spooky season one. This is the thing, like I alluded to earlier. This was the craziness of the time that I produced and hosted this show, literally in my truck at a trap shooting competition. Is I finished shooting my round, and then I was like, no, I got to get up, shoot the round. And then actually, I think I had like three different it's like golf with like holes, but that like three different things left to do. But we're in the truck, and you can hear. I thought you guys couldn't hear it. I thought the mic, like, you can hear the gunfire in the background. Oh. But yeah, and then Gio's got the dark cats consistency of our show. She's in her media room, but Gio's got like the dark background. It's kind of dark in my vehicle and the thing, but we're talking about the scary moments in Star Wars actors and horror movies. But yeah, and now you're hearing gunfire, and it's like no, don't listen to that. That's not why.
Yeah,
that was just a favorite episode.
Yeah, that was fun, and we can do another seasonal one because, as I said, there's the whole cultural, societal impact of belief systems and kind of All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, which is the origin of it. But then you can look at what was the origin of that. That was, Celtic and Irish Samhain, and the idea of appropriating a holiday that already venerated ancestral worship and worship of the dead and family that
Yeah,
are no longer
and
with us.
we
And then
can.
Day of the Dead
And then
in Latin culture.
Dios de Muertos, yeah. And then Dios de Muertos, you know, propagated by the Spanish colonization of Latin America and South America, and California, Mexico, Texas, but also that again piggybacked upon indigenous beliefs in venerating the dead and remembering the past and having the legacy of your ancestors be with you now and carry you into the future in a positive and progressive way, not in a fixated on death and dying and like depressing, morbid, dark things. Really, that's just a visual aspect of Dios de Muertos and
Yeah.
kind of altars people make, and and what became jack-o'-lanterns in Europe and things like that. They're not meant to
Well,
be.
and what have just become now is everybody wears sugar skulls because it looks cool. Everybody that's what.
Oh yeah, they make kids do that in elementary school. They have them do,
Completely. Yeah.
decorate those for Day of the Dead.
Well, at the very least, in elementary school, our elementary school, it is explained. It's talked about. We have a very consummate professional who is our Spanish teacher, who lets them know the cultural significances. I'm talking about all the kids that roll around because like Gap has chose to put a sugar skull on the shirt of the month or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's a skeleton, it's Halloween. There's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, I was at Costco yesterday, and there was this tequila that was the top of the bottle is like the upper half of a skeleton, but it's decorated to look, like Day of the Dead with all the little color stuff on it. I'm like, what is that? And it was some type of Mexican vodka or Mexican tequila. But
I
thought,
some of the,
like,
the
okay,
new,
but it was, but at least that was from an actual Mexican company. I looked it up, but it still was
some of the coolest art
tequila
that I've seen is taking the concept of a sugar skull and incorporating that on a Star Wars clone trooper helmet or a stormtrooper helmet. And it's like,
we have Raylos in the chat. This might be a problem.
No. Is that permaban time? Permaban.
Oh God, no. No. Just because actors have chemistry doesn't mean that they should be in love. Guys, they are such polar opposites in terms of their ethics and their values. It's like, I love that there was literally a deleted moment from Last Jedi when Rey is fighting Luke on, Octo in the rain, when she knocks him down and she's trying to insist upon, how Kylo's our only hope or whatever. And there's the cut line where Luke says that you would turn to the dark side for a pair of pretty eyes. And I'm like, that is great. They should have left that in the movie. And that's the entire basis for the Reylo thing. It's like, oh, but they look cute and they have chemistry. It's like, but they're completely different type. And this is not an opposites attract thing. Like, she was pissed with what Kylo did at the end of The Last Jedi. She slammed that door on him and cut off that.
This is again some of the.
It was a love-hate relationship. I think we can talk about emotionally and philosophically how romance and love happens.
Well, let's talk about how bad and what I don't know if that's a responsible thing to put on the screen and romanticize is like the potential. We're gonna like try and kill each other with lightsabers. Oh, but it's okay.
Like, aren't you the guy who called for the massacre of all the villagers on Jakku for literally no reason? Oh yeah.
No, Ray's take was she wanted a bad boy. He was a
that right there, Ashley. Psychic manipulation against her will.
That's true.
It became really darkly abusive from what they showed. Okay, if they wanted Reylo to be a thing and there was way more backstory and things that needed to happen.
He killed Han, and she was looking up to Han as a pseudo, and I wouldn't go so far as to say father figure because they'd only just met, and it's like, nah, he kills him anyway. And
I think you can say that. I think you can say father figure. She definitely.
It's like
it was definitely there. But this goes back to writing and inconsistency and having no plan, because J.J. Abrams had one singular basic take on Rey and Kylo Ren, and yet that scene where he takes his helmet off and he's torturing her is hideous and disgusting and irredeemable for me.
Yeah. And then
But
and then in the second one, he's
Well,
only
but-
using her to kill Snoke. It's not that he really has a bond with her. So when he says we should rule the galaxy together, that's where that movie kind of breaks. I'm like, wait, what? It's like now you're just copying dialogue from Empire Strikes Back for the sake of copying dialogue.
Well,
even
and
though it
the
didn't
fact
make
that
any sense.
everybody gets a redemption now, regardless of how many untold hundreds, thousands, millions,
Yeah,
billions.
here's the thing. I have never considered Vader redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi. Yes, he comes back to the light side of the Force and does the right thing. That does not redeem him. Like, what is that line that Norrington says in Pirates of the Caribbean? He says, "One good deed is not enough to redeem a man of a lifetime of wickedness."
There you go.
Same with Vader. It's like, yeah, you made the right call in killing Palpatine and realizing this guy's been manipulating you this whole time. But realistically, Luke cannot walk Vader back into Bright Tree Village and expect him to be embraced, particularly by Han Solo, who's standing there with his blaster. It's like, no. So yeah, it's sometimes they take redemption things too far with Star Wars, and they really did it with
Exactly,
Kylo.
right there.
And
Is
again, he's
genocide
using
and
her-
torture and psychological exploitation and abuse redeemable? Kind of no.
Right, and then he continues using her in Episode 9 when he wants to use her to help kill Palpatine. It's like, well, in both instances, you used her to kill your first master, and now you're manipulating and using her again to kill your next master. It's like that's still a manipulative type relationship. So I never really bought into it. It felt such a out of place for them to suddenly be in love, and I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying
the whole movie was
necessarily
written
out
on
of
a Reddit
place
thread,
because
granted.
that happens constantly in the real world. But the question is, should it, and should we be romanticizing it? Realistic, yes. Good, not so much.
Moving on.
Moving on. Here's another one. Okay, so this was a special. I did this one like out there on my own and went crazy. Is like this was so much fun to do, and I highly encourage both of you to do this, and I'll help produce it even. Like, but I went out there and I decided to do the 50 greatest animated shows of the 20th century. And I ranked them all the way down from 50 to 1, just in my personal mind. And it was a fun rabbit hole to go down because like I had to go with my memory of what this show was and then go back and research. Well, did that one come before this one? When did I see that one? Was that just, a carbon copy of the other one, or how many of these? And then you go and think about how many of these were just around just to sell me a toy. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Most, I'd say 90% of the American ones.
And did it work? Yes. There are boxes over there that prove it.
Look around. Yeah, this was the really fun article. I think it was top 100 animated shows of all time, of the 20th century, and I think it was maybe by Time magazine or the New York Times, something like that. Yeah, actually, we loved that episode too, even though it was just Dave Solo flying the flag for the unifying force there. But we should definitely revisit this. Kat and I can organize our own top 50 ranking.
Organize your own, and a totally one we can go through and argue with. Is I completely made it purposeful that I just did the 20th century. Nothing beyond that is some of the other ones that I had to kind of give an honorable mention to in the 80s that they may have started in the 80s, like The Simpsons, but really came on or in the 90s, I mean, but really came into their own after the turn of the century.
Yeah. And then, like Family Guy, King of the Hill, Futurama spinning off The Simpsons formula.
Yeah, is they all started like at that 1999 kind of mark. The Futurama and stuff like that, but it's not something that came. It very much changed, and at least a lot of them beyond the 20th century ceased to just be trying to sell us toys.
Yeah, I would say, just going back to Ashley, she said the entire 80s.
Yeah,
I agree, but I would say my favorite decade of animation was 90s. By far.
Well, and that's some of that is a generational deal, as you are younger than I am, and some of that being I would suspect
which ones.
Well, I would suspect some of it being a cultural issue between the U.S. and abroad, is because the U.S. was all of okay, you can just like the FCC just let that happen, or they were doing that to get around the FCC. But I think other countries had far more rules on that. Programming for television had programming for children. Television in general had to be a little bit more substantive.
I think the three that I would say are the most impactful in the 90s and probably on myself as an individual are Batman the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series. Who are my three favorite superheroes? Oh, it's Batman, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. Where did I get that from?
And then the Trinity.
But look at that. Is it the
superheroes
90s?
Batman,
Disney
Superman, and
afternoon,
Spider-Man.
Tailspin, Gummy Bears.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, absolutely after school, Batman the Animated Series that went into the Superman animated series that went into Justice League.
Yeah. I need to catch up, actually. I never followed much of Superman because it was on at a different time, and it was poorly advertised on CBBC and CITV, which are the children's hours and like mornings and afternoons after school. But we had, I don't know, did you have this on Saturday morning? We had the Marvel Action Hour. So it was Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, and the Fantastic Four.
I don't recall that, whether we had it or not, or whether I just didn't watch it. I remember like Spider-Man and Friends, and earlier before that, Spider-Man coming on. There was like a Spider-Man part in the Electric Company. That was a big thing. The Electric Company was a show. It was like a live action kind of thing, variety, this and that. And then Spider-Man was a part of it, like literally jumping through the frames of comic pages. It was Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera, right there, Sherry, is I can still sit down and watch original Looney Tunes. I can't watch the new crap. Can't do it. But in the 90s as well, Tiny Toon Adventures, people. Tiny Toon Adventures, the Animaniacs.
Yeah. And then also we had, if you think about it more cosmopolitanly and globally, we had anime arrive in Western markets on TV. It wasn't accessible to everybody. So, for example, for me, I wanted to follow things like, I wanted to check out Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. I knew of them, but it was only friends who had satellite TV at the time. And then they had Cartoon Network and Toonami, which is where they discovered it. The closest I got to more adult animation was Batman of the Future, which is the UK version of Batman Beyond, I think is what you call it.
Yeah, we had Batman Beyond.
Which is, I love that universe and that timeline. That setting is, it's Blade Runner. It's amazing.
And then you had Boomerang start out as a Cartoon Network's late night lineup where they played old cartoons from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
like
I love that.
Flintstones, Jetsons, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
Hong Kong Phooey, stuff like that.
Hong Kong Phooey, Top Cat. Yeah.
Like, well, anime started here for my generation is like we would get like a bootleg Japanese VHS tape. And that like, one friend had, and we'd like try and record it from one to the other. Like we watched Akira 4,000 times. Just it literally wore out a VHS because that's the only place that you could get that. But I did purposely limit this as well because I limited this to animated shows. We could totally go ahead and do animated movies, which would be a whole other.
It's really cool, Chantel.
That's what's getting to that. Child of the 70s and Army Brat moved around, a lot of sampling for cartoons all over the world. That's amazing. But animation from the 40s through the 80s and how you see everything different in different places. And yes, Beyond was awesome. I would love to see Beyond go to live action if they do it correctly. And really kind of the first taste that we got of that would be Keaton in The Flash.
Yeah.
And that was the best part of that movie.
Yeah, he was good in that. I thought that was a really nice arc, the way they did that. The way they touched on Alfred and stuff, that was good. So yeah, they should. That's the thing. Not everything has to be an origin story, especially because I was mentioned earlier. The trinity of superhero characters are Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Those are the three most popular. And it's like everybody knows their story, origin stories, left, right, and center. You don't need to tell that again. You could make a movie and just, just do a Batman Beyond movie. It'd be great. Let's just do it. Let's not start over at the beginning of the origin every single time you have a new iteration. You don't need to do that. It limits you so much with the type of stories you tell. It's like, yeah, Batman Begins was a good movie because that was the first time in a movie they'd actually fleshed out the origin story in a better way rather than, a bat flew into my study. I'm going to be Batman now, But okay, you did that with Begins. We don't need to do it again. And like Spider-Man, we didn't, like Marvel, they didn't go over the Spider-Man origin story again in the MCU version because you've already seen it twice in the last 15 years with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And it's like, yeah, we don't need to visit that again whenever they get to their next iteration of Spider-Man.
Yeah. And I mean, the Batman Beyond, we missed my personal fan casting. We missed the opportunity to have Sean Connery as old Batman. Let's not miss the opportunity to have Michael Keaton be able to be in that role. And figure out who your it guy of the hour becomes Terry and is the new Batman.
Yeah.
So let's move up, keep going through. There's a couple other ones here. This is the other, like the tops in there, and the moving along is episode 58, top 10 holiday movies. This one, of course, being my favorite right there.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun episode too. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like doing that, and I like having the opportunity for us to argue back and forth. And if you haven't seen it, new on the channel is I Know, where Jason and Sarah Barnes are going to be arguing a lot of their different top fives. They started with their top 5 Star Wars couples. And Ben and Ray were, absent from that. I think they did show up in an honorable mention or something as one of them, but not your top 5 couples there, because there are so many more healthier relationships.
I'm gonna have to revisit this episode here for holiday movies because I think I had Batman Returns and Nightmare Before Christmas. A few others that weren't conventional. I can't remember what they all were, but Die Hard, of course.
I think most of ours were not conventional. I think that's the kind of people we are.
And by holiday, we primarily arranged it around Christmas holiday for that.
We did, but is there other holidays that one could go in to do that? I don't know if you can. 10. I asked earlier if because we're getting ready to do movies we're thankful for, and then kind of holiday movies on the watch along. As I asked Spencer if there any particularly must watch every year kind of Hanukkah movies, and he was not finding those or there. But if you got suggestions, we're looking for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, religious movies could be. We could try, and it might be hard for us to actually access and watch them, but there'll be so many from around the world, whether it's a localized interpretation of Christmas nativity, or there'll be Eastern films. There'll be martial arts movies that have Confucianism and Buddhism and Taoism principles in. There's a lot from South Asia because the Indian literary texts go back 3,000-4,000 BC. For things like the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas and things like that. And yeah, we even if we don't get to see films and watch them in time, we can talk about the literary traditions of spiritual movements.
Yeah, I think that would be a great one as well to educate the viewerships and me personally, as well as, I don't know about you, Kat, but about holiday films, other holidays, all holidays from around the world, non-Western holiday films.
Yeah, there's so many.
Also chimes in. Rankin and Bass, not animation, but I love them as well as Peanuts, the classic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Those
I
are
mean,
good little holiday movies they did too.
absolutely. Rankin and Bass. I mean, that's animation. That's the arguable
Yeah, stop
animation.
motion animation.
Yeah, stop motion. It's literally in the name of the thing. It's not 2D like cell animation, but same thing.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, so here's we go.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I had
wow,
to put-
that's a big jump, episode 58 to 95.
Well, is there were some other ones in there that I loved, but you know, if I've got to get this one in.
Old
Is
man
the-
yells. Oh, dude, it's not or old man yells at clouds. It is old man yells at clouds.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Little edit there, please.
Okay, look, there's even more of this, and this still goes on because Skip and I had like an insanely long phone call the other day because Skip fell into a trap, which is this is now free on HBO Max, and like you know he watched it again. I have not gone down that rabbit hole. And it's just like, no, I disliked it more watching it again. Yes. But I talked to a number of people. There have been a number of people that I'm talking to recently now who have seen it for the first time, who did not go and watched it in theaters, but have now seen it now that it's streaming. And I always start, objectively, oh, what did you think? That. Yes, exactly.
What did Skip have to say with this long conversation?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's the whole thing of if you're watching it again and kind of some of the echoing the feelings is what they made Superman such a non-Superman character, such a character that he has not been for all the 70 some odd years or whatever of this is he's smarmy, he's snarky, he's not super heroic. He's not that ideal for all to be above everything else. They just kind of it's not Superman. That's other heroes. That's great. That's something to do to make them your everyman and your whatever. But that's not what Superman.
Right, but did Skip agree with you or what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Skip can't
What's
stand the movie. Skip is no. His take is very similar. So my coworker, the music teacher, I'm the visual arts teacher at my school. My coworker, the music teacher, saw it as well, and he's just like, you didn't even need Superman in that movie. He didn't do anything.
He's an inconsequential character in his own.
Yes. He's not. And the things that he does do are things that you don't want him as Superman to do. And it's just like the best character in the movie was the not animatronic, but CGI dog.
Yeah, I agree. But
which I also have a problem with because I think that he should have been a German Shepherd, which, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love German Shepherds. They're among my favorite breeds, so I would love to have seen that. Was that a precedent in comics? Is Crypto?
I believe that Crypto at one point was a solid white German Shepherd. I believe. I may be mistaken, but I think when he began, he was kind of a nondescript dog, which again makes some level of sense. You wouldn't say he's actually a German Shepherd because he's from Krypton. So I think, but he was portrayed more as a larger, more kind of regal breed, not this kind of spastic, all over the place, misbehaved dog. He was more of a German Shepherd sometimes more of like a white Labrador, different kind of larger breed dog, but again, far more well behaved and reliable. I mean, there were all sorts of stuff. Also, he was Superman's dog, not Supergirl's dog. Supergirl had like a cat. And then there was, of course, like the super horse, like, because it was the 60s or the 70s and everything had to be that way.
Yeah, why not? Get the whole farm, super farm.
Yes, yet this Superman exceeded expectations from critics and commentators and box office. And whether that is a cultural thing and to where this is what people today want, or whether that is something more nefarious, whether, that's what the studios are putting money out there to make happen, who knows? It may be the same kind of thing to where it literally makes me the old man yelling at clouds, is to where this is entertainment made for not me anymore, because that's how that is I am not the demographic that people want or need to go and see their product, and that disturbs me, but I also see that is possibly the point. Now, I will give you that my 16-year-old daughter, who should be the demographic that these people are looking for,
Yeah.
liked this movie, but liked this movie because she was laughing at it and thought it was a damn comedy show the whole time. And I'm like, that's not freaking what you should be liking Superman for.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
that's a good comment, Melissa.
Of every major character in this film was generally across the board, except for Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner, I think, was kind of the unapologetic asshole that he was supposed to be. I don't think his look was as on as it should have been, and I think he was portrayed as a little bit smarter than Guy is actually supposed to be. But I enjoyed Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific, I thought was really good. I wasn't really super familiar with that character ahead of time, but I enjoyed that. Yes, and Superman, way more front and center of this. He was subjugated to a smaller role, and the Justice Gang did most of the consequential things. I disliked some of the things that they did to Lois. Some of the things I thought were better. She wasn't like the damsel in distress, oh help me, that Margot Kidder was all the time. But she also wasn't as portrayed as strong of an independent woman as Margot Kidder was in some sections as well.
It's a huge shame because, and we don't want to harp on too long because we did a whole one episode and then re-air of this review.
We did. We had to, because there was that much.
There's a lot going on. There was a lot to talk about. But I think having Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane was an incredible casting. I couldn't have thought of a better person. If anyone hasn't watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime Video, you're really missing out. It's an excellent series, and she's the main character, and she deserves to have the quote unquote, that cringy term, the main character energy in whatever project she's in. And she was very much a bystander. And the major issue is Clark was a bystander, and this happens actually quite often, and it shouldn't. And it goes back to that old theory that I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's among my favorites. I think it's one of the best films ever made. But Indiana Jones has very little direct impact on the events that unfold. And I mean, that's if we're being very critical and kind of microscopic about it. But, Spielberg didn't get that right himself. Sometimes when there are so many things and ideas flying around, it's hard to. And I'm not giving James Gunn a pass on this, but I do appreciate this wasn't a Superman film. This was DCEU relaunch. Yeah. And so I think they should have advertised it as such. They could have called this film Superman and Friends, and it would have fitted perfectly.
I mean, they could have called this the Justice Gang, or they could have got, it could have been many other kind of things. Sherry's favorite part is they did use real life locations, like the real life building, the train station, I think, which was the inspiration, the architectural inspiration for the animated Hall of Justice. And they didn't get Lois right. It's hard to get Lois right. I didn't dislike Amy Adams as Lois. I don't think she was quite right for it either.
Yeah.
I think I've come to believe that I don't think a lot of what I didn't like about it was due to the actors. I think Rachel and David, I think they could portray these characters correctly given better writing and direction, or different writing and direction that would go in a different way. Yeah, is she did the best she could. It wasn't a Superman and Lois movie, which she would have shown. Is I liked for Superman and Lois, like I like Bitsy from that Superman and Lois TV show, and I think Hoechlin does a reasonable job in that as well. I don't think Hoechlin physically, he's still not given that kind of superhuman Superman everybody to aspire to. He's a more down to earth, and he's super dad is what he is in that. But I don't think that that's a bad portrayal. So, all of the things and all of the different takes in there that create it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the comments here. It's bad writing, just unstuck the whole project, and it's like James Gunn 2025 Superman is it's a James Gunn movie. It's a James Gunn movie, and James Gunn,
it really is,
has been a great movie for Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what that kind of ragtag bunch of smarmy, sarcastic, really anti-heroes are.
Definitely.
But this is wrong for Superman. It's a project of a cultural time, 2025, broad Gen Z appeal. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I'd do if I was in that suit. But that's Superman is supposed to be beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have any sympathy for people who are getting these multi-millions to make their fan projects and fan fiction come to life, really. But I do see James Gunn was inheriting a poison chalice, being the architect, the Kevin Feige of DCEU's attempted relaunch and riposte to the MCU, or at least this is their parry and riposte swordplay back to phase 1 to 3 of the MCU, which I'll still consider the only MCU, really. Phases 1 to 3. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was a lightning in the bottle moment of things being perfectly lined up for James Gunn and the cast and crew there. A little bit like Star Wars 1977. And I think that's similar to, I'd say, Infinity War and Endgame for me. That's the definitive blockbuster finale to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everything else since then has been an epilogue or an appendix.
Yeah, is a lot of the new stuff in that I haven't gotten behind. I haven't finished a lot of the things. And Blood actually is saying a Justice Gang movie without Superman would have worked. Put in more of those other superheroes, or if you had like Superman and Batman, if you had kept Cavill and even like Batfleck and
I love Batfleck.
If you had kept Cavill and Batfleck and Gal Gadot just like in the background or like coming in going like, damn these kids, and whatever.
Yeah, great idea.
You were there. And Gunn has done well with a fantastic cast with that kind of crude humor that's not appropriate for Superman. It is appropriate for what he's doing with Peacemaker. It's his choice and his shtick, and it just didn't go well. My biggest disappointment with the Superman and the talk of the sequel. I was glad to see there's going to be a sequel. I just wish that it wasn't Gunn doing it again because he was so successful with the first one. I wish they would give it to somebody else and see their take with this cast and what they could do and how different that would be.
Yeah, I
with
agree.
these people.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see from like a Hollywood insider perspective if they do things behind the scenes differently. It happens a lot, as we've talked about, Rogue One, so many changes behind the scenes. And, Gareth Edwards is the director and writer principally in the credits, but Tony Gilroy, did the third act of that film.
Yeah.
Does James Gunn do the writing, producing, directing, and show running of Peacemaker? Is it very much his own baby?
I know very little about it because I don't particularly enjoy that, but from what I have, from what I've heard, I think a lot of it is kind of his baby and his kind of thing going in there. I'm not positive of that. It would fit to theme because it is so similar to his version of Guardians, and it's like his version of Suicide Squad. Is it's a very similarly kind of done thing, so I would not be surprised. Is Sherry's going? Or whoops, missed one. Sherry's after the Christopher Reeve version. Favorite version of Superman is Smallville. How Clark developed into the hero, and I liked how very sparing they were with that. Like I think Clark only shows up in the suit like at the very end.
Yeah. It's like the 150th episode, the end of season 10, the grand finale, as you see him, Tom Welling in the suit.
Yeah, and like I liked Welling in that. I mean, yes, it got to be Kryptonite powered Monster of the Week for a while, but they introduced a lot of cool stuff in there. They did a lot of the relationship of Superman and Lex in there, and what Ashley's saying is like, yeah, Lex and Superman together, and those actors may be able to pull that off. I just hope that Gunn doesn't write it in a wonky way. Yeah, Lex versus Superman could be, but them together after it.
Oh, is that what actually meant?
Smallville, absolutely definitive story of Clark Kent for the millennial generation. It's him becoming that, and it hasn't aged as badly as you would think.
Have you revisited it since?
Yes, I've watched semi recently. Is my 16-year-old daughter started to kind of visit Superman at cons. Her favorite is Tyler Hoechlin, but I was introducing her into, here's this Tom Welling. This is kind of a Superman for your age. And that, she's enjoyed that, and we've rewatched that. Right there is Creature Commandos. I don't know that I saw Creature Commandos. So was that the one with, was it Super Pets, or was it different than Super Pets? I'm not sure. But that is like Man of Tomorrow is about Lex, and you'll see the two of them, and I don't know that Guardians of the Galaxy 1 I thought was great. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 I thought was pretty darn good. 3 I actually liked Guardians exactly right there, Indy.
I think that Guardians Volume 3 surprised me, and of the post-Endgame MCU films, I think it's in the top 5.
Which is not hard
top,
to do.
All right, top 3.
Okay.
Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians Volume 3, and I'm open to any other suggestions. Well, I have yet to see Thunderbolts, and I'm quite interested. I'm looking forward to seeing it, on the big TV at home in the next couple of days. And in the next episode, I can give my analysis on that.
Yeah, I watched Thunderbolts later. I didn't bother to go see that one in the theaters, and I think I saw it kind of out of order because I saw Brave New World in the theaters, and I think I should have seen some Thunderbolts. No, it was the other way around. I saw Brave New World, and Brave New World was like, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It didn't use Harrison quite the way I wanted it to make him.
Hmm.
But for him coming in and taking over Thunderbolt Ross, like as a character, you know, having him already established, I didn't think Harrison did badly. I like Thunderbolts. I like Yelena's character. I like Red Guardian. I didn't like the villain. I didn't like the villain in that. It was me.
Sure. I think I like ensemble films, especially when they kind of balance drama and lightheartedness. And I think the MCU's moved away from what James Gunn has taken DCEU towards, which is the quippy, comic-y, fast-paced, jokey heroes. And it sounds like Thunderbolts is absolutely not that. But Clark Kent in James Gunn's 2025 Superman definitely was that.
Completely.
Which worked against the film entirely.
Yeah. But what do we got? We got the Slave One right there.
Oh, that inside.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. That looks like a lot of fun. I was just Pez dispenser. Nice. What do I have nearby?
Yeah.
I have
Thunderbolts. Just didn't like. Yeah.
I like Thunderbolts.
That's very nice. I like that.
Yeah, I've had this for a while, but it stayed in the box for a minute. But now it just sits on this like console table, and it's shiny, and it's fun to wipe down and dust occasionally. But I just love it.
So I've got one of those. That's the Black Series one.
Yeah.
I've got one of those as well, and I've started, like we saw my Boba Fett helmet earlier. I've started that as a new cast piece for all of the people who have been inside, in the Din Djarin helmet. And so far, the only one I have is Brendan Wayne. Is I've missed opportunities to meet some of the other ones. But the question was earlier asked, who did you think was the villain in Thunderbolts? And
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
The
spoilers. No, I'm joking. I don't care.
Sentry is who I was referring to that I didn't particularly like. Is Sentry / the Void. And it's just big nebulous darkness and whatever is like, yeah, she Julia Louis-Dreyfus was probably the real villain, but it's almost to the point where real life has jaded us to that actual style of villain, because that's just what like a smarmy politician person would be doing, and we just expect that. So it's just like, I don't even see that as the villain anymore. I'm just going for like the Sentry and the Void and his kind of dual like split personality thing is, I didn't love how that was portrayed. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus is like, yeah, she was doing there and we didn't like her, but it's just that part was the too real. Sometimes that may be the thing that's getting me down on the superhero film is it's becoming too much of a commentary on the real life where this is supposed to be superhero and magical. And it's just like, oh, well, the politicians are the villains. We know that. We live that. That's how
I thought that was one of the better movies they've done in a while, though.
Thunderbolts? Yeah. I mean, better than Brave New World. I loved the Brave New World. I think the parts that I liked about that were this too.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, well, I did not like
spoilers. The new Avengers. What?
I didn't like the branding, that they totally changed the branding of the movie. But
and the fact that they did that after like 3 days of release.
Yeah, I would have preferred to have seen that reveal in film.
Yeah, and then, but like the Isaiah Bradley storyline in Brave New World was the better storyline, but it was the secondary storyline as opposed to marketing, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, marketing.
Oh, that's a great cover as well.
It is
I
a
mean,
great
at
cover.
least the box art is excellent.
And we needed to see more
Even
of
the disc art.
Captain America. I
That's
wanted to see
I would love that
more
poster. It's great.
of Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Yeah, again, a little bit of a bystander in his own film.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed a great shot with Isaiah Bradley.
I would love to hear a full no holds barred behind the scenes on what happened with that movie, because that clearly was not. It's like, really, you're gonna make Sam Wilson's first Captain America movie like a sequel to the Incredible Hulk, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and please,
and nothing really seems like, it's called Brave New World, but it doesn't really feel. It's like, I guess because they're referencing adamantium, but it doesn't feel like a Brave New World type story. The original title was New World Order.
Yeah,
and I love that. You could totally tell they shoehorned Giancarlo Esposito's character in there from the Serpent Society. I remember when Marvel teased that Civil War was originally going to be the Serpent Society, and they're like, just kidding. And it's like, I agree Civil War is a good story, but Serpent Society would have been great too. And you're getting our hopes up and saying, we're taking that away, And then just having them be a random team of mercenaries in this one was kind of half-baked. And
yeah, it felt quite undercooked. We were discussing a little bit earlier, Kat, our top 3 post-Endgame Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And
Far From Home, No Way Home, Thunderbolts.
Nice.
In no particular order. I haven't decided what order, but that's what I would.
Yeah. I would put No Way Home or Far From Home together, because I'm cheating and indecisive.
Yeah.
And I would put Guardians Volume 3. I thought it was a good cap on the trilogy. I think that's James Gunn's.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that's in there too. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I genuinely got a bit choked up with some of the backstory.
Okay, then I'll do what you did too. I'm going to put Far From Home and No Way Home as one movie, because it basically is, and then Guardians 3 and Thunderbolts.
Yes, I was saying to Dave, I hope Thunderbolts is the third, and I've not had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it.
But yes, Ashley, they need to let movies be for the characters they intended them to be for. Absolutely, they've not been doing that lately.
No,
because again, it's the whole shared universe shit, and it's like, I really hope they keep their word when they say that Avengers: Secret Wars is going to reboot everything. Because even Feige says we're going to have new Captain America, new Steve Rogers, new Tony Stark. It's like, you're going to have new cast members and just start a clean slate. And I think it would just be better to not have an in-universe reason for why it starts over. Just say you're creating a new continuity that has no relationship, no possible crossover. Kind of like how DC has the Matt Reeves Batman thing is completely separate from the DCU, and no, there can't be a multiverse crossover because they're completely unrelated continuities.
Yeah. Don't say that, because somebody's gonna go down that rabbit hole.
No, I'm sure.
But
yeah, I'm just I'm noting down Ashley's question / suggestion, because I think that can be a discussion in the future as well.
Yeah,
it's become a very modern sickness with the movie industry. Definitely the big blockbuster ones. But yeah, I've been as we've been doing this, I've been glancing down, because as Kat mentioned, we jumped about 35 episodes.
We did
in our countdown, which is fine. So from number 58, the top 10 holiday movies, the next episode we had was Star Wars News and Viewer Mail, which I'd like to kind of shout out again, because I think going forward, we can maybe have a ticker tape at the end, just sharing our socials and our Gmail. And then invite people to get in touch with us if they're happy.
Yeah, we did have a viewer mail thing going for a while. We didn't really get many hits.
Yeah, we didn't get enough of the viewer mail to keep it that. Like, I enjoyed that. Is just having people give us topics and us and saying go.
Yeah, we can try that again. It's a 100th anniversary special. We're going for the relaunch. Then we did Star Wars Connections to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was fun. And I think Kat had recently watched that film properly. So
I saw that January 2024 in a 70mm projection, which was the first time I ever got to see it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that must have been amazing. I have the Blu-ray still in sealed packaging, which I need to unwrap.
Yeah, I got it's around here somewhere. I got there it is. Yeah, I got the 4K with that.
Then we had a tribute to Carl Weathers, which was actually quite a fun episode. And I think these tributes are nice to do. It's sad when we lose people. Obviously, we have no real personal connection to them. They could have been a-holes behind the scenes, but from what we know on screen, we have these emotional attachments. We get invested. For me, Carl Weathers will always be Predator. Predator for me is Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, incredible action film.
Well, see, I'm older than that. I'm Rocky.
Yeah, well, I
Carl
mean,
Weathers is Apollo Creed.
so he is for me as well, even though I didn't watch Rocky. I didn't watch Rocky properly when I was a kid. So, but I mean, when someone says Carl Weathers to me, I picture Apollo Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I love how grand and eloquent and articulate he was in a calm role as the leader, as the magistrate, that we got in the Mandalorian TV series. So that was a fantastic final, love letter to film fans from Carl Weathers. We had a 2-part episode on Star Wars Visions Volume 2 because
Yeah, now I really enjoyed doing that, is deep diving that. Is I hope we get to do that again for season 3.
Yeah,
Is
we can do a look
hopefully-
ahead. Maybe next time we can do a look ahead at the recent trailer and see how it connects to Volume 1. Volume 3's gone back to Japan. I think 8 of the 9 studios are definitely Japanese anime powerhouses. I think one of them might be Korean. We've got 3 storylines continuing on from Volume 1, and in my opinion, they were the 3 best episodes. Then we had an Acolyte analyzing trailer episode, which was quite fun because there was a lot from what we wanted to be pulled from the EU and from the Star Wars literature to come
and
into.
then one that was the favorite, we did the bait and switch that everybody's talking about. We did the controversial title. Is Dune just a ripoff of Star Wars?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Which was good. I think we could revisit Dune as well. And we talk about the kind of circularity. There's like a
involved me having to watch more of that.
Yeah, there's the whole cross-pollination of film and media, isn't there? From east to west, west to east, from Dune to Star Wars. Yeah, as Melissa says, I love Visions.
I really enjoy Visions. I enjoyed the world, and I know Kat, you haven't seen season 2, but Gio and I did the season 2 deep dive, and just it being so many more from around the world studios, I think gave it very, very different. Like the Irish legend, Banshee episode was really
good. Yeah, there was the Desi South Asian one, which was cool. Again, the power of women in society there in South Asia, with the kind of older grandmother Jedi. The South African episode, which looked like stop motion, which was incredible. I think the animation quality and variety is just amazing, and it goes back to what George Lucas was saying: Star Wars could be a silent film and still work because of the visual beauty of it. And we saw that. We had a fun Execute Order 66 episode. We focused on Tales of the Empire and Star Wars Outlaws. I think we could look at more Star Wars gaming in the future. There's not too many projects lined up, but one of my highlights of last year, and we talked about this in the kind of end of 2024 wrap up, was playing Jedi Fallen Order finally.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to kind of get the upgrade to the PS5 version. Whew, one of the most spectacular visual experiences of my life, honestly. Absolutely stunning game. And I really recommend it if you've got a console or Steam account on PC. It's very affordable now, and the Jedi Survivor is also on sale at the moment, so do check it out. And then I believe one of our most watched and popular episodes was episode 68, The History of the Sith. As a primer. So we had over 200 views on that one, which was awesome. And that was, again, in anticipation of the Acolyte.
What it could have been.
Yeah. It was before we were disappointed.
Star Wars has yet to do a Sith-oriented show.
Yeah, it's still there.
They promised us that. They didn't give us that.
That was completely the bait and switch. That was not about as major of a character as the stranger was. That was not what that show really was about.
They didn't even mention the word Sith until the 6th episode.
5th episode.
I think I remember when they first teased it, it's like, yeah, we know a lot about the Jedi. Let's get in with the Sith. And then it turned into a Jedi detective story. It's like,
Yeah, but a bad detective story. There's no mystery.
yeah.
But it's okay. Hey, I really liked episode 5, Night, which was basically Chimera, the lightsaber scenes. You know, I've actually watched that episode just in isolation again, and I just really had fun at the choreography and the
Yes,
intensity.
Sherry, the mall show will probably.
Oh yeah.
It might give us what is the timeline for that show? Is that after his apparent death on Naboo?
It's between the Clone Wars, season 7, the Siege of Mandalore, and Rebels, Old Man Maul.
Okay, it'll fill in that gap because they need to fill in that gap.
They have the comic series, don't they? Son of Dathomir.
That covers how he escapes from Palpatine in, what was it, season 4, when he kills his brother and then captures him and says, "I have plans for you."
Oh,
and then the next time you see him is Siege of Mandalore, because when the show got canceled, they didn't get to finish that. And it's a shame that they didn't do Son of Dathomir as part of season 7, because that's a great comic book run. It's like vintage Clone Wars, action heavy. You got Dooku in there, you got Grievous, you got Maul. It would have been awesome to see them animate that instead of some of the other choices they made for which ones they were going to adapt for the 7th season.
Yeah. That middle story arc, I mean, it was a fun diversion.
I don't know.
The official stick for Maul is 1 year after the Clone Wars, approximately 18 BBY, between episodes 2 and 3. Maul's time rebuilding the criminal syndicate, so it could potentially tie into some of that Kira things that we saw from Solo.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That level in there. So we could, I mean, who knows? We could get animated Kira. We could see that. But anyway, rebuilding criminal syndicate after the war, his efforts to stay hidden while the Empire is rising to power. Who, of course, would not be favorable.
When is this coming?
Oh,
next
is it
May?
26 or 27?
I don't know for sure.
Hey, Mike, joining from Disneyland.
What's up, Mike?
Thanks.
Scheduled to premiere in 2026. It doesn't necessarily give a time.
We have people everywhere, apparently, because Mike is joining us now from Disneyland.
Yes, we are still on. There's an awful lot to cover in 99 previous episodes.
We are 2 hours 42 minutes into the show. We're having the longest show ever. Our 100th episode spectacular.
Yeah. We had then episodes reviewing Acolyte. We had a couple of re-airs of the Cult of Star Wars and Cult in Star Wars, and I think we can revisit those with a whole lot more to add, and looking from like the anthropological, cultural, religious side of things with the real world. We had the SDCC and D23 thoughts and a VCN Family Vacation 2 review, which of course you guys were able to experience. So that must have been really fun, obviously, and I vicariously enjoyed the stories and the video and the photos that you took and the discussion that we had in episode 73 was really cool.
Hello, David from Southeast England.
Hello, David.
Hey, David. It's one of my oldest friends. Thank you so much.
Oh, excellent.
Appreciate. Yeah. Always flying the flag.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, and hopefully will catch us on the VOD as well. Then we had the tribute to James Earl Jones, which was quite an emotional one as well.
And it was an educational as well, for me at least, because I mean, as part of preparing for that show, I actually prepared for that show. But just going down the rabbit hole and visiting I knew tons of his properties already, but a lot of his stage work and early screen work and things that, I weren't in the mainstream, like weren't Coming to America and weren't Field of Dreams and weren't Star Wars. A lot of his stuff, it was very educational, and sad to say it was stuff that I had missed while he was living. It took his death for me to go find that, but such a body of work.
Yeah, such a contribution to not just film, but TV and stage.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's a huge cultural blind spot for me, and kind of unfortunate, especially being in London, born and raised. There's so much cultural stage theatrics and musicals to see. I don't get a chance to see much. It is now prohibitively expensive and very in demand, like all live events and concerts are. Tickets, you got to be there at 9 a.m. on a Friday on multiple devices sometimes to get the first and best seats. But James Earl Jones, it's the voice and it's the visual screen presence. It's the iconic Conan the Barbarian villain. Yeah, exactly what David's saying. James Earl Jones really rocked as Thulsa Doom in Conan. Great lines in there, and he really
Yes.
elevated the script. He really made that writing memorable and stand out. And that was the fun preparation for me as well, because I hadn't seen Conan the Barbarian properly from start to end.
Mm.
I'd seen just bits on TV as a kid, and I was impressed. I can absolutely understand the cult following that it has, and I hope people revisit it in the future. But one video I loved from James Earl Jones's filmography, it was his debut on Sesame Street.
Yes.
That is one of my favorite videos ever, and he made that a breakthrough, and it became a landmark thing that became part of the repeated segment for Sesame Street, with guest stars reading the alphabet. So that was really fun. And then anytime I think of the lines from Mufasa in The Lion King, I hear his voice in my head.
Completely.
He's kind of like the avuncular, lovable uncle, grandfather to Disney '90s kids, and '80s kids. And I think anyone who sees The Lion King at that kind of pivotal formative years in the future, Mufasa will have that impact.
Yeah.
And then obviously as Darth Vader, we talked a little bit about how was Vader redeemable, was he not? I think his vocal performance in Empire and in Return of the Jedi, especially when he's just one-on-one with Luke, or one is appealing to the other, you do feel that emotional connection between them. It's incredible acting, it's good writing, and again, James Earl Jones has made it stand out and some of the best moments in cinema.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear on YouTube the performance that was given through the helmet, right?
Oh,
David
David
Prowse
Prowse.
would give, and
Yeah.
and that's fine. And I mean, they would have cleaned it up, and they would have gotten it, another. You wouldn't have had to hear the "it's muffled" because I'm wearing the big plastic thing.
Yeah.
But it's still, even though.
Oh,
I thought he was thinking for a minute, trying to think, and then his eyes.
Yeah, it's done the old thing of the eyes rolling to the top left corner when you're thinking.
Like,
Yeah, you can screen grab that as a screenshot of Dave in the future.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is my internet's starting to get spotty. Is who knows? I think other people are awake and like on it now. But yeah, is just proud. It wouldn't have been the same, even though the majority of the empire was British. But
Yeah,
it seems out of place for Vader.
Yeah, as a British person, I think having the Imperials be these received pronunciation, pretentious overlords was perfect, and an excellent metaphor for the British Empire and what it did around the world.
Yes.
But then again, I'm so glad Darth Vader was an American accent.
Yeah.
As somebody who's British but has grown up on American TV, it's my third parent. American accents to me, I love hearing them, and I want my heroes and villains to sound more American than more British. And when for a while in my teen years, when I ever heard an actor speak in a British accent, whether they're natively British or they're acting, it was jarring to me. So I'm so happy that despite being shot in Pinewood Studios and being a London English production, the original trilogy, that our main cast were American, because I wouldn't have supported them as much if they were English. But yeah, that's as Lonnie's saying, the colonizer accent. That's exactly it. It's British imperialism. It's the byproduct of the Victorian era.
I can't picture Vader with a British accent. It's like it was bad enough hearing David Prowse's actual voice when they called him Farmer Vader. It's like, no, I think they got James Earl Jones is the right voice for that. You needed a deep baritone voice for Vader to have that commanding presence, which you don't get. I haven't heard many British people with deep baritone voices.
Yeah, it's kind of rare. Well, Brian Blessed, who's a crazy comedian and kind of an annoying character, I find, but he was cast as Boss Nass, and he pretty much was himself. He didn't act.
Yeah.
That's just how he is. Yeah. It's James Earl Jones's impact will live forever. And we're lucky that we could grow up with him, as well as hopefully pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah. Well, and then beyond that, we're looking at, there's more Star Wars Outlaws. This one was a fun one that was just kind of non-Star Warsy. What would have happened if the Disney Renaissance had never happened? It's re-airing a spooky season. Another tribute to Greg Hildebrandt. That was a short one that we just kind of popped in there because
you were traveling.
Not so many people knew the Impract brothers.
Yeah.
But talking about shows became a really thing. Became a less of a deep dive and more of a film and television commentary because we had so much more going at that point. We had the Acolyte, we had Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Jedi, and we had we had Visions. Yeah. But we were talking about Skeleton Crew for several episodes there in the 80s of episode numbers.
Yeah. And the thing is, these are like the titles that we quickly on the fly have given to these things, but that we'd have sort of a main discussion topic, and that's what the title is about. But we always have, things coming in at the beginning and end. I think it's great how you do a shout out to the other Virtual Cantina Network shows and events and, Bunta events and things coming out at the end. So we'll be organized and have that structure going forward, definitely. But
and we always go down the rabbit hole as we've done here, is going more about it. Yeah, is the Disney Renaissance was all about Menken and Ashman, and it's the songs. It's the songs made that whole thing. I think harkening back and going back to like the traditional looking animation was another thing, but I can sing you the entirety of the original Little Mermaid, just off the top of my head, because that's how memorable that is. Celebration News, Fantastic Four trailers, go there. And what is this one? Is this has got to be the cat? Is episode 86? The title is No, Not James Bond.
Yeah. That was the broccoli debacle.
There we go.
Yeah. We've had some episodes where we really discuss film, TV, entertainment, Hollywood, the wider industries at large and what's going on creatively, front and center and behind the scenes, which are fun things to talk about.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think I agree. 90s Walt Disney animated classics from the 90s are the top of the tier for me.
I mean, those are, it's the kind of things where it literally is a renaissance of Disney, because those are arguably as great a works and as memorable a works as the originals, as Snow White and Cinderella, and just
the Jungle Book.
The original animated Jungle Book, and yes.
Yeah, and then I'd say the torch passed to Pixar in the 2000s, and we had Ratatouille, Wall-E, Up, which I think they'll be induced into the Hall of Fame and the American Cultural Registry if they aren't already. as landmark pieces of art, and I think they deserve it.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, the
Well-
traditional Disney animation doesn't put out enough of their own stuff as
There you go.
much anymore.
Nemo. Well, and some of
Nemo.
we can talk about this later. Some of the latest stuff that they've come out with hasn't really hit on.
Pixar's been kind of sluggish lately. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, any of the stuff that's come
No,
out
it-
just
yeah.
because hasn't kind of hit at all. What was the one with the goat and the star and the thing? I can't remember. The cutesy little animal.
Was that the one that was meant to be a tribute to all of Disney animation?
Wish.
Wish. Yeah.
Is that it? I haven't seen it yet.
Wish, and then
I'll work my way through.
Yeah, so many of the things. The newest one, was that Elio?
Yeah, I
Not
saw a
so
poster
much
for that.
related.
That was okay.
But anyway, we've talked about Celebration Japan. We've talked about Andor, a lot about Andor. And film stuff, Jaws 50th anniversary, and how that, kind of went into, that was the year before Star Wars. Yeah, Encanto really was kind of the last big hit. It's because, we don't talk about Bruno. That's the one that like leaves you with something. But
I'm still surprised at that. I'm really glad Encanto was a huge hit because it was also culturally a really significant landmark film for like representation terms and having that family story. But
well, see, that's what we're talking about is why Encanto hit, because we don't talk about Bruno like lives in my head all the time, as well as the other one, with I cannot remember the names right now, but the sister juggling the donkeys. It's that song. It's I can hear the song and I'm singing the song. But
how many times have you seen Encanto?
Not that many, and that it lives in my head though. I may have seen it 3 times, probably more like 2. But yeah,
very catchy.
It's right in that. It's you're right. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda, and that's I think why the second Moana didn't particularly hit is the music was not there for it.
Was he involved, or did he step back from?
I think he was not involved.
He was doing Mufasa, and he did a terrible job on that movie. That he had a bad day at the office with the songs with that. But he wasn't there which is why he couldn't do the Moana sequel.
I see.
Which was the movie was not done
Mike.
very well because you could tell it was.
Thank you, Mike.
A TV series versus trying to turn it into a movie, and it's like, it didn't work.
Yeah, that one did not. So there, here's other things and reviews that we could totally pop back on and talk about.
What I hope they do with live action is I want them to move away from remaking, but I know it was part of Walt Disney's dream to have everything remade every 25 years, which is a terrible idea. But I think that Lion King,
keep the copyrights, Gio.
Yes, there's that. We can talk about the legality and all that BS as well.
It's so we don't end up with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
Well, that was inevitable because that was from the copyright of the original books, which Disney don't own.
Yeah.
Same with Peter Pan, and which I'm told was actually pretty decent as a horror movie. Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare, and then the Bambi movie. I missed that. That came and went pretty quick. Well, those were those one night things, and I didn't hear about that until it was too late. But I heard that.
I have never seen that because, according to you, I apparently live that.
Personal life reveal. You know what's crazy? We're only 13.
I'm a hunter from Bambi.
Yeah. They were only 13 years away from Superman entering the public domain.
A lot can happen until then.
A lot can happen, but that will be interesting to see how DC contends with that, and then all the characters going forward. Batman, Captain America, in the next 18 years, 20 years. It's going to be interesting seeing what stories can come out and how intellectual property will try and suppress things. We had a really good, fun summer movie preview episode. That was good.
Yeah.
There was a lot coming out this year. I think
we need to hit that and do the wrap up of that. Now that a lot of them are on streaming, a lot of the ones that I didn't watch in the theaters, I'm watching now.
Yeah, we can definitely make a short list. It can be our reading material ahead of a future episode. Yeah, as I said, I'm really excited to see Thunderbolts. I've heard some reasonable things about it. And then in terms of TV, I'm catching up with Alien Earth. I'm 3 episodes in. I'm quite impressed. No, you didn't like it?
No.
I started it and didn't finish it.
When did you give up? Episode 3? 4?
Probably.
Okay. I'll stick with it. I'll see what happens. When I get 3 episodes into something and it's a mini series, I want to finish it because usually that's you're a third of the way through. Peacemaker gave you hope.
We will agree to disagree on that, Lonnie, because Peacemaker, I understand why people love Peacemaker, and Peacemaker is just not necessarily my cup of tea in that style of humor.
Have you watched the season 2 stuff?
No, I have not watched season 2 because I went back to completely rewatch season 1 in preparation and couldn't get through it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I have not started Peacemaker yet. That's been on the back burner as a watch list, but I guess I'll binge the 2 seasons with the Suicide Squad now that it's all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same with Peacemaker. I want to check it out. Oh,
one of the reasons I didn't get back through is my wife saw Peacemaker season 2 advertised. We were looking for stuff to watch, and I'm like, well, you never watched season 1. I watched season 1, and so I was like, we need to go back, and you need to understand that before we dip into season 2. And she did not last very long at all.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I think. Oh,
what's up?
Kids saw Thunderbolts 3 times in 2 weeks. Whew.
Yeah, like when that came out, we went ahead and we watched it as a family, and it was reasonably enjoyable. Like I said, I had a little problem with like the villain. Like I like a lot of like kind of related is the Marvel the zombie stuff is out, and that's somewhat Thunderbolt related.
Indy wants to know, is the 2021 Suicide Squad movie mandatory before Peacemaker? Well, I don't know because I haven't seen Peacemaker. Well, yeah, probably because at the end of that movie, it has the tie-in for why, the characters in Peacemaker are who they are and what they're doing. So yeah, I'd watch it. Plus, it's a good movie. It's only a 2-hour movie, but it's fun. Much better than the David Ayer one.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. It's not that hard though.
It kind of preps you for the level for the humor of
Peacemaker.
Yeah, it kind of preps you. I don't know that it's necessary, but it would be hard for me to say that it's not necessary because I did see it beforehand. But it preps you. It gets you used to what you're going on.
Interesting.
But yeah, and then like finishing up the last couple of episodes that we've talked about the Superman episode here, and we've talked about Star Wars collectibles, which I think we've proven Gio was showing, and we could totally go down the rabbit hole again and get more specific on that. Star Wars in the Emmys was last time. So many things to do and many places to go from here.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but The Acolyte is an Emmy award-winning show. I
will be over here being the blinking guy emoji.
Yeah, I was about to say your responses would make great GIFs and stickers. So Spencer, Mr. Meme Lord, get that out there. Yeah, it could be fun to actually have GIFs of the own virtual cantina community.
There you go.
I watched them beforehand and it was fine. Okay, cool. For Peacemaker, that makes sense. Yeah, so The Acolyte won the Emmy for Best Costume or Wardrobing.
Well, which was good. I enjoyed how much that looked like it really gave you High Republic feels. Is it really kind of gave very good nods to the comic books. I suppose also to the novels where you kind of picture what it looks like in your head.
have you been up to date with the High Republic project and phase 3, phase 4?
It's the High Republic is a lot, and I stopped trying to keep up. And where I am now is I will dip into some of it where here and there is I don't have the whole through line, just because with the books and the young adult books and the kids books and the comics, it became way too much media for me.
Yeah, I think many people in the chat and viewers and fans everywhere could echo that.
It's a lot, and this is just the one fandom, right? Is I have a lot of other fandoms that I'm out there and consuming media for and looking at that. Though, granted, the vast majority of the other ones are not nearly as prevalent as Star Wars. Like Ghostbusters, we get a movie every couple of years, and that's pretty much the extent of the thing. It's not like there are 16 other novels that you need to read to get Ghostbusters Afterlife.
This is a question for our Jedi Archives friends.
Yeah, this is better for the other guys. Is the other Sunday show, Jedi Archives, is really, they live and breathe the High Republic, and they would know all of this stuff. So, Lonnie, that is a question for Mike, for John. Is I don't know. I've read stuff here and there. I have not particularly read that.
Yeah. You know what? I really hope they don't close the High Republic era forever in terms of multimedia. The little bits that I know of seem really cool, and I'd love to see it in a video game, maybe in a live action thing at some point.
Yeah. Well,
especially as they've not gone back to the Old Republic, which is
perhaps it will garner some interest in where the High Republic is, when and if we ever get Dawn of the Jedi, which goes back way beyond that, to maybe that will spark some more interest in another era.
Yeah, we could talk Dawn of the Jedi again.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
Get beyond. But yeah, I think we're at that place. I'm so thankful that everybody's been on here for episode 300, and everybody's stuck with us for the 3 hour and 6 minutes that we have been going.
100.
The 100.
Did I say 300?
Yeah. Oh, there might be 300 comments. 300 views.
Yeah. So for episode 100, it's been great. I think we're rivaling the time for our 100,000 fan spectacular that we did. But I'm looking forward to the next 100 episodes and where we go, because I think we've gotten close to 100 ideas on what else we can do just during the course of this show. What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of talking points here. It's been really a fun discussion. You don't always get to reflect on such a time period, whether it's in a specific way, like looking at the Unifying Force. It's been 4 years, which is amazing, but crazy. And it makes me almost want to take stock of my own life in the last 4 years and what's been happening in parallel. And it's a bit like when you revisit music and you've got that, your amygdala lights up, you get this emotional connection. You remember, where you were, what you were doing, how old you were when you heard that song for the first time. It's kind of been a bit like that, looking back at these specific episodes of the Unifying Force. And some of them have a very strong emotional connection, like the one about the living force and death and beyond with Richard. I never got to meet Rich, but he's one reason that I stayed involved in the comments and viewing during lockdown. And it's to do with this community and the interactions and the comments that we've had that have made us stick with it and keep going for 100 episodes. There have been times when there have been dips and like troughs, as always with all things in life. And, I think maybe in like episode 50, we were thinking, this is difficult. We were trying to record ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because 4 p.m. Sunday is kind of right in the middle of my day, even though 12 p.m. should be the middle of my Sunday. And it's, getting into your late morning, Dave, and it's waking Kat up or keeping her up all night. on the Pacific Coast. But there's been a lot of energy and effort, and I think positivity through this entire project and from the Virtual Cantina Network and the larger Star Wars celebration, Los Angeles 2027 Facebook community, which is now over 100K. So thank you everybody for sticking with us. Welcome to anyone new. We'd be honored if you could rejoin us again in 2 weeks' time. And Dave, you want to do a roundup of what's coming up on the Virtual Cantina Network?
So much coming up on the Virtual Cantina Network is what we've got going this week is Clone Wars Revisited. They're continuing to plow along into late season 2. They're moving that. I keep telling you, I tell everybody to join us on Happy Hour on Tuesday nights. It's a little late for Geo, but Kat and I are on there pretty much all week, and Kat is on there like super late. Is because the West Coast, well, not super late for you, but Kat is on there super late for me when I go out. The Tuesday nights are so much fun. This Wednesday, I believe we are back to is this Daughters of the Galaxy this week because we hit nerves. I think this is Daughters of the Galaxy. And then we've got a special spooky season going on Thursday. We are going to be watching Jeff and Spencer are out of town because we have our event in the Chicagoland area. So they're going to be live. If you want to see them, they're live in the Chicagoland area. And we are going to be watching Dr. Sleep with Ewan McGregor.
Oh, nice.
Anything for consistently for, like I said, it's a little bit easier to go 100 episodes when we're going every, twice a month, but still.
Yeah.
And yeah, the after hours, after a happy hour, that's there. It's the place to be. And I mean, I think we'll end up and we'll look at is I'll kind of go to this. This is from our old slideshow that I started when I repurposed this. This is the ad for the Virtual Cantina Network at that point. It was us, it
Old
was
school.
Jedi Archives, and it was the Virtual Cantina Happy Hour. And that's what there was on the network. And we're back there, look, like when the Twitter was still the Twitter.
It's still Twitter. There is no X.
Well, when the logo was still the logo.
Yeah, it's still, to me, I hope everyone just keeps using that logo and forever calls it Twitter, and Elon Musk can take a one-way trip to Mars. That would be great for the Earth. But yeah, there's been a lot of evolution. We're still kind of casual and lo-fi in our own niche way, but we've come on a long way, and it's with the grace and efforts of everybody behind the scenes as well. We've had new people join the Virtual Cantina Network. As Spencer mentioned, and I'm not sure if we flashed the comment up about 2 hours ago, but we were the first show. And we came in with Jedi Archives, with Mike and John and Bryce. So, no,
this was before Bryce. Remember, you guys started before me, and Archives started with Rich.
Yes,
that was back in there. So there have been evolutions in all of the things, but Archives. Like I was mentioning, there were other shows, but there wasn't a regularly scheduled shows. There was special events. They do the watch-alongs. They do the speaker series where we had that sort of things. But as far as a regularly scheduled every week show, it was us and Archives. And that is where it all began. And it's come to where we have so many more shows now. We've had Rebels Revisited. We now have Clone Wars Revisited. We've got Daughters of the Galaxy. We've got the Nerf Herder Council who have joined us from outside and come in. We have a new Life at Light Speed podcast. We've got a new podcast that's coming in that's just going to start very soon. Yes, from where they started ages upon ages ago, the interview with George Lucas on Star Wars 20.
Star Wars 20.
Oh,
it's a great concept, Star Wars 20. I think it could be revived in a very focused way.
We, of course, have our new show that has aired once is the I Know show. So many more things, and we've got content on so many nights of the week and so many days, and it's great, and it's great to be on this ride, and I'm so thankful that you guys picked me up and that I've come on to this, and it's been super fun, and I hope it continues to be. I know it will.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Just a quick shout out. I want to say, I found it personally hard to kind of put yourself out there and like advertise and market, but I've been trying again in recent months, telling people, the idea of networking is a big thing for me because I'm more of a reserved person, but I want to get out there and tell more people about Virtual Cantina Network. I have been doing. I've got 4 different colors of this shirt.
Nice.
Which I got in 2021, and this was my shirt. This was my outfit yesterday, pretty much, when I was in central London, meeting a lot of people. It was a very busy evening into the morning, but managed to coffee up, and I'm here. And I've loved this conversation with everyone. It's been a great ride for 100 years. I just want to shout out to my
See, now
friends.
you did it. That's 100 episodes,
100
not
years.
100.
100 years, God. This episode's been 100 years.
This episode
4
has
years,
been 100 years.
4 years, 100 episodes, 1,000 comments. Thank you so much. 1,000 thank yous to everybody. It's 2 of my oldest friends' birthdays. I've known them over 20 years. Hopefully I'll get them to join us despite lives being busy in the future. Now that I feel brave enough to tell people we're 100 episodes in, join us. Kieran, happy birthday. Satch, happy birthday. And I also wanted to show 2 things in the background that I always have in every episode as part of my setup. I don't have the awesome collection that Kat has or that you have with the merch around you, or the discs and the posters, but these are 2 very special pieces for me. Hopefully they'll be viewable. This is, you can kind of see.
A little blur. We can see some of the
kind of gather.
Yeah.
Let me unblur my background for a second.
Yeah.
If you could just bear with me for a moment. No virtual background. So
there we go.
Everything's in high res.
Yes.
This is emotionally important piece for me. My sister painted this. And yeah, this was probably during lockdown. So season 1 of Mandalorian had dropped. We weren't quite sure what Baby Yoda was going to be. He wasn't even called Grogu at the time. But we had Din and Baby Yoda there. And to me, this is, when I look at this, I hear the Mandalorian theme by Ludwig Göransson, but I also think of the Force theme.
Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. And I think of the Force theme and the binary sunset, and what drew us to Star Wars, in Star Wars in A New Hope. And then finally, and I hope family don't mind me saying this, this one's from my brother, and this is
Battle on Mustafar,
the pivotal moment. You underestimate my power, Anakin and Obi-Wan. And for me, that is my favorite action sequence in modern cinema, along with Duel of the Fates, and I think that would be my top tier.
Indeed.
So, we'll continue spreading the word. If you've enjoyed this and joined us, even for a nanosecond, thank you, and tell your friends and family. It'll be great to expand everything. The Force is with us, and the Force is with you. So remember that, and please join us again.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for watching. Till next time. May the Force be with you.
Always.
May the Force be with you all.